You guys are on.
D- Kate,
Kate!
Kate,
Kate!
Kate. Oh
Kate.
God,
Okay.
Kate.
I think that's enough shouting. Should we get going? I think Kate's given us the green light. And hello to everyone out there in chat.
Hi, everybody. It's called shoutcasting for a reason, I suppose. Real quick ups to crew in chat. Crew's the way to go. I want to see a lot of gang playing today. So crew. That's it. That's all I'm gonna say. Take us away, bro.
Alrighty, hello and welcome everyone to this Oh God event here, raising money for Feeding America. I'm Pro Trade, as Kate has said. That's Oshi. Again, we're a little silly. We're trying to figure stuff out ourselves, but the main thing to focus on is going to be these incredible players. 32 folks have come in for the first time in an Ohgawdkate TFT event. We've actually had to turn folks away and had a wait list for this, so props out to all of you for looking to come into TFT. And my goodness, with a new set on the horizon, Lore and Legends is a great time to do it.
I mean, let's go ahead and qualify new set here, right? Like, if you haven't taken the opportunity to look into what this PBE set is for set 16, it's old sets brought back, right? And ergo the name Lore and Legends. And I think this is probably the most creative set that we've seen, particularly surrounding the unlocking of characters as you go,
Mhm.
because that is what makes it so fun from the viewer standpoint, from our standpoint as commentators, to be able to kind of try and predict where people are looking to go.
Yeah, and this truly is going to cause quite a bit of diversity at the end of the day because if you tuned in for our previous charity tournament, you've definitely seen a couple of pretty regular characters sort of coming in here. Big Soul Fighter, big ups to the crew as well, which didn't quite do as well as we all thought it would do in our hearts. But independent of that, though, now you have so many more units to be unlocked across 4 and 5 costs, let alone all the little weird ones kind of in between. You can really get some good comps going, get a lot of diversity, and hopefully a lot of fun skill expression for all of our players here today.
Now, one of the things you and I were just discussing before Kate so rudely interrupted us by bringing us on
True,
stream
true. Mhm.
was the things that we're looking forward to, right? And not just looking forward to in terms of we're excited to see them, but what we're expecting to see from the gameplay from these players, and kind of the overall way that everything falls together, let's go ahead and say, with these compositions, right? We're talking about the fact that a lot of everything is fast 8 and fast 9 compositions. There's some fast 6, fast 7 when you get into kind of the yordles with the rerolls, splashing different different characters and different traits as you go. But the biggest one that you were just talking about at the very end was the term you used was soup of the day. And I think that's the perfect description for it. So talk on that.
Sure thing. So, if you've been a longtime TFT player, you're pretty familiar with the concept of legendary soup, right? At a certain point, you're just throwing a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a couple of kindred for garnish, and from there, you're able to get something pretty tasty. With Lore and Legends, because you have a sheer huge number of 4 and 5 costs to unlock, you can really take that to the next level and also go after 5 costs that other folks aren't really going to be able to contest you on. There's going to be a few that are easier to find, say, for example, Volibear, which you will probably hit by accident just by slamming one belt item somewhere. But beyond that, too, Tom Kench, Tomathan, absolutely insane, is able to give you quite a few different options in order to fully disrupt front lines. Fresh, the capstone of the Shadow Isles, is this crazy brawler in the front line able to do quite a bit of damage based on the number of souls you've accrued across the entire game. And despite that, there's still plenty of room for just that little bit of utility as well. Kindred saving folks from death, Ornn printing items in all of his true Ornn glory from the first time that he was introduced in TFT. There's so much that players can play with here. I haven't even gotten to talk about Zillion yet. I can't wait to see what they're able to find.
Well, the irony is there will be lots of time to talk about Zillion as we get going, just because we have a minimum of 3 games per player today, which is one of the best parts out there. So everybody gets to play at least 3 games, and we're going to be shuffling the players within each lobby as we go as well. So we may focus on one person a particularly strong amount within a specific lobby the first time around, but everything's going to shuffle. And a lot of that is because all of these players are of different ranks and skill levels, and it's PBE. We want to have a little bit of fun. And the most important thing about all of this is we are here for charity. So, in the spirit of both fun and charity, Pro, I'm told that you and Kate are going to be doing something particularly nice if somebody
Mhm.
does manage to hit a 3-star 5 cost.
Yes, that is true. And really quickly, before we get to that, I do want to make sure we take one step back one more time to
Ah,
make sure we're able to call out Feeding America. And they are going to be the charity that we're supporting today. They do amazing work in fighting hunger across the United States. And it was chosen because of ongoing efforts alongside programs like the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, known as SNAP, which help millions of families across America find food and other essential nutrition support. I promise you, folks who need SNAP benefits look like anyone. There is no profile to look for. I've had friends who are currently going for their doctorate and friends who are going on hard times also benefiting from these programs. So any gaps we can fill are incredibly important as we go towards our $200 goal. A $200 goal, I will note, that has just hit 75 before we've even started the day, so do keep an eye on that. But beyond that, too, as you were alluding to, Kate and I have a bit of a bounty that we want to call out for. I have $25 here. I wish I really had a prop $25 next to me, but hey, you know what? Pengu, can you pretend that you're $25 for me? Thank you. You're so helpful as a prop. Kate also has a similar $25, maybe shaped like a Pengu, maybe not. I'm not sure. I've never been to Kate's before.
that's a
Oh, it's a
Poro.
Poro. I'm just receiving word it is a Poro, so that is going to be important to know. If any player in the lobby is able to hit a 3-star 5 cost, we are going to donate this $25 into the pool. Again, you don't even have to donate yourself. You just have to hit one of these crazy cash outs, crazy caps, and we'll donate more for you. So, another thing to keep looking out for today.
Yeah, and the players are aware of this, so they hopefully are going to try and do all kinds of crazy things to ensure that this happens. So this fast 8, these fast 9s, these heavy econ builds, things that we're really going to be looking forward to. Not just because they're fun and not just because they tend to win, but also because we want to raise as much money for Feeding America as possible today. Again, $200 is the goal, it is not the limit. So if you're out there and you are able to, particularly on this American Thanksgiving weekend, supporting organizations like Feeding Hunger, like your local food banks, your local local food cupboards is
Mhm.
incredibly important in this time as we are obviously in at least a little bit of an economic crisis, both within the continental United States. I'm up here in Canada. We're struggling ourselves as well. And even the greater regions of the world aren't necessarily doing the most fantastic at this point in time. So look out for your fellow neighbor as we look out for the chaos that is going to be happening as we hop into game number one.
Yes, and we're already loading in, as you said, so many different permutations already beginning to come to a head at this point. And I gotta tell you, it all really begins with that initial portal. If you're familiar with TFT previously, a lot of these portals are pretty much the same here. You're gonna get old favorites like the augments being shifted forward, all gold augments, a perfectly normal game of TFT where everything is just a
Boo.
little bit calm, a little bit zen, a little bit boo, as you just said. And from there, there's also a bit of wild, a bit of wacky, a bit of new. Only time will tell if we're towards the wacky or the side of the spectrum. But while we wait on that, quick fun question for you. You mentioned you're Canadian. You know, we all know, at least we should, that you guys celebrated your Thanksgiving festivities a month ago at
Hmm.
this point. In that spirit of thanks, I guess what is your favorite side that you enjoy at a Thanksgiving table? Because everyone's got their favorite. I'm curious what yours is at the very start.
So it depends on who I'm eating with. We'll
Oh,
go
that's
with that.
wise.
That's my preface for this because it would normally be stuffing,
Mm.
right? I'm a glutton for bread. What can I say? I like bread, but with the right person making it, mac and cheese tops everything.
Oh, no, I see that. I see that. For me, that's a little bit trickier. My wife has a severe dairy allergy, so if she even looks at mac and cheese, she explodes. But
Okay.
definitely agree with that. I do not have that proclivity, so I can enjoy mac and cheese as much as I want. But independent of that, too, I agree. I am a stuffing man. It goes well in almost every situation. And as you said, it is hard to beat bread. Just that core energy of it is just, absolutely fantastic. And I will also have to say too, I'm curious to see what other fillings that folks are able to bring in to this set as we go in, just because as we were talking a little bit before, there is that general through line, right? Folks are going to be going for this high end comp, this certain
Hmm.
vertical here and there, but you also are able to serve up a couple of sides here, there, and everywhere to really boost it up.
Yeah, those splashes that we were talking about, right? The biggest one that you called out and is one of a personal favorites of mine is Ornn because it harkens back to set one, right? Was Ornn's initial release with the item creation, if I
Uh,
recall correctly?
I don't think it was set one. It might have been
Was it
like,
not?
oh my goodness, it
It was
was
very
the
early.
nature one. It was earlier on, like maybe six or so. But
Was it
you
really? Oh, was that far? Oh,
I'm
forgive me.
we're gonna have to do Google, or at least have a producer to use Google for us, because with this, I believe we're about to be loading into our game. And let me tell you right now, it seems like we do have confirmation of what this initial portal is going to be. And it's gonna be our new one,
Oh
the
my God, it
Howling
was
Abyss.
set 13 was Ornn's first appearance.
Oh my goodness.
What is happened? That's only 3 sets ago.
I know, right? It's
What is wrong
ridiculous.
with us? Me specifically.
I mean, I guess six. That's not a good mark on me either. I think that was back in the times of shadow items, which, oh boy, that's another fun
Oh
tab
man.
conversation to kind of have. But for
Listen,
here,
I
though,
love shadow items, okay?
no, I
Shadow
get you.
Volibear was. Anyways, that's
Terrifying.
neither here nor there. We have long shot on the screen as our first opener. Very standard to see in the first couple of rounds just because of the extra damage that comes with it. Tend to see a lot of Ionia in the first ones as well. Again, just these kinds of easy openers, right?
Mhm. And I'll say too, two sides of the same coin here right now, with the Kog'Maw and the Caitlyn also being thrown in here, as these are two early starts that you really do want to look for when you're playing Lore and Legends right now. Kog'Maw specifically because if you're able to easily slot in, say for example, a Cho'Gath, you're able to find ways to unlock the Shelly naturally and have that open as an option later and later into the game, effective bruiser no matter which way it's sliced. Meanwhile, Piltover is an absolute beast. Just the two piece is able to give you a huge team wide buff that I think a lot of these players are going to be looking to build around, as we are looking to build things out with our first augment.
Yeah, this is where it starts to get really fun and really where the players need to determine
Ooh.
what they're going to be focusing towards, right? Augments play a significant role in determining what you're going to end up with on your board as a whole, particularly if you end up selecting, of course, one of the item augments. This time around, not the case. You can see the Shyvana standing off to the side there. So that is where we are headed in this one. For this board. I would love to flip over to see what other players are selecting to kind of see what we end up with in terms of overall competition. You can see the two trick right there for Soul Ninja. We'll hop down to, is that Michikata, I believe is how you pronounce
Mhm.
her name. I don't want to overstate or try too hard on that one. We'll just call them that. Mochi? Mochi. Oh, it's just Mochi Mochi. Oh, that's easy. But you can see, actually, this is interesting. Both Mochi Mochi and Jaro Jaro, the two names are so good you have to say twice, both opting for these solo 2 stars.
And let me tell you right now, this is really interesting at the end of the day. I will say, first and foremost, Viego, one of the strongest options I feel like you can be playing here with that stacking damage that you have. But solo leveling is purely based on how much momentum you can build up in these early game fights. Having this early game here where you're not really able to, kill a bunch of units is probably not exactly what both of these players were looking for at the very start. But either way, it should be enough to get the ball rolling here. Mochi already has pretty good energy here for Shadow Isles, but solo leveling is awkwardly going to prevent them from collecting the souls that you look for to really build this trade up.
Yeah, it's a rough combination kind of moment, right? Where you're like, okay, listen, this is the only augment that I have that makes any sense right now. I'm gonna grab it, and then it turns out that, well, unfortunately, it is incohesive with the units that you have on hand, right? So you kind of end up playing what you have to play. Um, It'll be interesting to see what they're able to pivot that into. Let's take a look at Jade Shot and Crispy Lettuce, kind of make our way down the board, see what we've got here. A good Demacia Defender and Yordle on board. Things that are, a little more common, I would say, as well, that compared to the solo leveling option here. Yordle in particular being a very strong econ option. And we talked about just how much you want to get into kind of that level 7, level 8, level 9 as quickly as you can. So having units come to you rather than having to purchase them is always nice.
You are going to have to get a little bit deeper in the trait to get that ball rolling. But for now, though, just having those bonus stats to help Poppy out, especially when combined with Demacia, is going to be a pretty useful way to begin things here. The only thing that I want to watch out for is how things are going to be played with this augment choice right now, because we don't have a lot of data about all the augments in PBE right now. Folks are still trying to figure out how things are working for the best, but I believe this is double trouble unless there's a new icon for something that is really throwing me off right now. And with that, we don't know too many of these options that are big, strong double trouble boards. I wouldn't be surprised if Vayne ends up being one of them later on down the line, but Vayne, so far in my own personal testing, I can't speak for yours, hasn't really felt the best. So really curious to see if this is what's needed to really make her shine.
Yeah, it's questionable. I mean, again, it's one of those situations where you end up with the augments you end up with, right? And if this is what fits at the time, that's what you end up playing. Double Trouble, I have not played it with Vayne. I can't really personally comment. I can't add that anecdotal stance to it, but I have not seen anybody else try. Probably for the reason that you were stating.
Hey, but I mean, at the end of the day, all of this is done to experiment, all of this is done to test, all of this is done to learn, and I can't think of a better tournament to do so, let alone a tournament to see all these spatulas, all these pans flying out on this opening carousel. This really is going to help garnish that soup that we were talking about a little bit earlier in, because this means you have the ability to splash in so many different options as you look on through. Remember, Riot has gone on the record to say most of these bronze level traits have been overtuned just a little bit to make it more worthwhile and more tempting to go for the splash, go for one of these options. But for now, I want to focus on what is on PBE Enki's board right now, because I see a unit that you've been raring to talk about all of our prep today.
Really? Which one? Because I see two. That's the worst part here. I mean, there's the Gangplank, which we're got, Crew, but it's Bilgewater this time. Crew's not really here, but Bilgewater Crew, which still stands. Crew. But you're right. Bard is there. Bard is not only one of my favorite TFT characters, he's one of my favorite League of Legends as a whole. Absolutely love the chaos that this character brings in both aspects of the game, but this one in particular, you put it best. I believe you said he is painfully inconsistent or something along those lines, where it was just, it is chaos to have him on the board, and you have to be very specific about what you play him with to ensure you get the most of his benefits.
And I will say, so far, Enki is looking to play Bard in one of these new early comps that we've sort of seen develop on the PBE. Bruiser reroll, trying to find all of these early 1 and 2 cost bruisers, particularly the Scion that is going to be stacking up insane amounts of HP as this game goes on. Hell, Scion 2, right off the bat, easy peasy, don't even have to ask it twice. From there, you are able to get things rolling, able to get things going smoothly. I will say, though, folks are still debating the efficacy here. I've seen some folks say that it's better just to properly rush up to 6 Bruiser and look to play around the Volibear, that 5 cost that's in here, as opposed to just purely trying to build things up for the Bard. For now, though, this is still solid. It's going to be a good option. And with that frying pan, you even have the option to go for 4 Bruiser whenever you'd like.
Exactly. You can splash in any character that you want to have to get yourself to that 4 Bruiser option, the belt in hand there as well, as we saw. So going to be interesting to see how they choose to go through that. I have seen some Bard 3s do incredible work so far, and you can see another solo leveling board actually with the Leona out at the moment, looking to pick up what they can. And this is one of those instances, I say, where you see the weakness of starting with the Bard. You would assume, even against solo leveling, that having a backline damage dealer and 3 bruisers out front would go incredibly well for you against one unit, especially against a Leona.
Well, not even especially against Leona, because we do have to talk a little bit about Targon at this point, because Targon is basically this set's version of threats from back in the day from Monsters Attack, where if you are running Targon in any way, shape, or form, these are units that are, for the most part, traitless, but are going to be buffed up in interesting ways to really get things to work. And in Leona's case, that's going to be a little bit of free burn. We saw some other units like, say, for example, the Aphelios come on in. That's going to be a bit of armor shred. So a lot of extra utility, a lot of extra power that you wouldn't normally see on these units, and that is enough to be able to get Jaro through that fight, able to get some kills here, there, and everywhere. Priorities to level 5. Granted, with 5 experience, that odd number of experience is going to mess with me the entire time I look down at the bar today, but hey, that's the reason why I don't pick solo leveling. It gives me too much anxiety as we get deeper into the game.
Listen, it is what it is, and you have to deal with it. But I'm very glad that you drew attention to Targon because it is an incredibly strong option in this game right now, and I feel like it's one that you have to know. Like it's a knower's option, as chat would probably put it, right? If you know, you know, and if you don't, you're like, why are you playing Targon? Because it can be incredibly strong, especially very early on. This, on the other hand, you can look at the board and look at the bench, and you might be wondering, what is the Malzahar doing here? Well, you're gonna see a lot of Malzahar today, in my opinion, along with, as you mentioned earlier, the Singed will show up at some point without a doubt. And the reason I'm drawing attention to that, we have Zon on the board right now, but Malzahar, phenomenally strong unit in this set at the moment.
Yeah, Malzahar is able to activate disruptors, which fits really nicely with this incredibly early Seraphine I need to call out here, coming in from Soul Ninja. That is truly incredible to see. Activates Piltover here. That 90 caliber net is doing absolute numbers here on on Soul Ninja's boards. It's Crispy Lettuce. Sorry about that. I don't know how to read, it looks like. Crispy Lettuce is our 100 streaker here at the top of the lobby, really able to make quite a bit go off of these early advantages, but I think that also has a bit of a paradoxical effect here because Singed is one of the unlocks that we've seen, and one of the things that you need to do to unlock Singed is to lose 35 HP. And it doesn't seem like Crispy Lettuce is looking to do that anytime soon.
Exactly, and that's why I drew attention to the Malzahar in that particular moment, over top of the Singe, was just because they're going to be looking to transition into continuing that strength, and which path are they going to end up taking? Because they're going to have to int a couple rounds if they want to pick up the Singe, and they look like they're looking for a Mr. 100 game in the end here.
Hey, I mean, whatever floats the boat, I would say, for Crispy Lettuce here. And it looks like they've gone for the Magic Roll as their second augment and given a wealth of tiers. So that will be definitely effective just to be able to further get your Seraphine online, get a few other benefits here and there. And heck, you even got Reforgers if you don't want another blue buff for your trouble. So far, Crispy Lettuce has been hitting some pretty powerful augments here off of either basically complete randomness, right? Like get the random roll on the first one, random roll on the second. Here, there, everywhere. That feels good to me.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the possibilities surrounding randomness that you could end up with, that's a phenomenal set, right? To roll the one and then manage to roll into the tiers to support all of that doesn't really feel much better than what you've got right there. And again, we're kind of hopping back over. You can see the Aphelios with the Rageblade on hand. Common thing in the end, in the early stages of these games when you have him on the board. To Targon ultimately going down to, I mean, Crispy Lettuce. I think we're just going to see a lot of people falling to that board for quite a while because he's not going to be looking to lose anything. So I'm trying to read Enki. Sorry, I couldn't focus my eyes for a second there. Enki clearly looking towards that significantly more defensive styled board, right? With the Targon and the Bruiser on the front, the Bard on the back. They're going to be looking to get as much as they can out of them. And I'm not sure how that's going to go.
I mean, the thing that I'm more focused on here is
where did
the
that
augment
sword
choices from Enki. I believe it was just reforged into a rod off.
Oh, okay. I missed the Reforger getting dragged. I just saw a sword disappear before my eyes.
Hey, I mean, I get you. It's a magic trick that I'm not quite familiar with myself, but the other magic trick Enki is looking to pull off is the sheer amount of econ they're trying to build up. They're already at 69 HP. They're trying to spend as much of that HP early on to build up an economic advantage. And on top of that, too, you get raining gold for a little bit of extra currency here, there, and everywhere, as long as the care package, which I feel like is just a warm hug from the TFT dev team, giving me a little bit of extra gold and health every now and then. So all that does work really well. It does, however, mean that contrasted to other boards, you don't have a lot of combat power added in right now. Everything is just going to be your units and your units alone. And eventually, particularly in that final augment choice, you are going to need to find a way to get a bit more power here once you have already used your slingshot to try to get that economy up to level 8, up to level 9, to get those legendary units first here. But as we go to this carousel round, though, I mean, we were talking about Crispy Lettuce certainly is looking like they're running for a Mr. 100 game, and that's caused a bit of a rift to open up through the rest of the lobby.
Yeah, there's a bit of a gap going on, obviously, between the first and second place, as we called. But when you get down into the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh, it's not that big of a difference. And then Zoinker's sitting way down there at 45 is running Yordles, right? And again, Yordles is a passive econ based kind of composition that you're going to have to go. There's the sixth one coming in, the important moment. Tristana getting the one complete. Are you going to finish the IE? That's the question. And you know what? Let's get your opinion on this. Would you finish the IE in this situation to try and save some HP?
I mean, I personally look for pointy items wherever I'm capable of finding them here at the end of the day. When you are able to commit to items, particularly combat items, as early as possible, you're able to start thinking about your late game boards. That being said, it's a bit awkward for Yordle because if you look at their 4 and 5 costs, you have AP up, down, left, right, and center. So it becomes a little bit more anxiety inducing to try to slam the IE as a result. But that said, you could play for Splash. You could try to see if you can bring a Misfortune in here to activate Gunslinger as well and just have Yordle as a frontline. Truly, the lore of the legends here opens you up to a lot of possibilities.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Lore of the Legends opens you up to possibilities is unquestionably. I mean, you could use that to market this set, bro. Let's be honest. If you were to put that in a tweet and send it to Mort Dog, he'd probably just steal it. Right? He
Yeah.
put it out there himself. And that's the fun part here. As you can see, look at that. You have some Yordles in here and with Targon going on in the front line. Not exactly what you had said, but very similar in terms of splashing across multiple options here with the Aphelios on the back line and the Zoes as well. So some damage coming in there. We've seen a lot of Leonas on the front so far. I mean, we're only a couple rounds into the very first game, so of course everybody's going to play what they have to play. But here we have something different for Mochi Mochi.
Yeah, Mochi Mochi here is going full into that Shadow Isles line as we talked about. Shadow Isles, since we haven't gone into the full details of it yet, is one of the unique traits this set in that the only non-unlockable unit here is the Viego. As a result, you need to unlock everything as you go soul after soul to really get the ball rolling. And so far, it is looking so good, only with the free active right now, but generating as many souls as you can to get towards that Callista and Fresh as quickly as possible. I know when things first started out, there was a bit of debate whether you stay in 5 Shadow Isle or you try to take a step back. Maybe Pro and Freljord are another incredibly strong splash here and there. But I believe the meta has settled on let's play as many Shadow Isles as possible to further buff up that Fresh in the late game as much as physically possible. For now, though, this is going to be more than enough to Mochi to begin to turn things around, at least get that 2 streak coming in here to the Bramble.
I mean, Shadow Isles, I'm a huge proponent of staying in Shadow Isles. You hit the 5 Shadow Isles and you're looking at 1.9 times the number of souls, 25% AD and AP. I mean, especially because he started with the solo leveling, right? He's very committed to this Viego in the first place. So I don't see any reason why you would go and change out of that, what is obviously going to be fueling the strength, until you get to the point of the level 9, maybe even pushing into 10, and you can just replace everything with only 5 costs. Maintain that strength is my opinion.
And
As
the
he
other
removes
thing
all of
that's
their items off of Viego and completely counters what I was getting at.
Hey, I mean, it still works out, right? It's still moving them onto the Gwen, right? Like she's happy to hold the BT, work that all out here, there, everywhere. The thing I would also note though is that you don't lose souls once you've collected them, right? So
Yes.
eventually, when you are looking to make that pivot for those 4 and 5 cost units as much as you can, you aren't going to lose that initial base of souls that you have. So whenever you had all those units on, they're still going to benefit from those soul collected. Fresh is going to continue doing whatever amount of bonus DOT that he's going to be doing here. But this is when we have to start looking at where things might begin to fall off, though. Just because we see Zoinkers has slammed that IE, has decided to go for a bit of an extra point to counteract the fact that their health has been going lower and lower and lower, something that Mochi is now beginning to contend with, hitting 57 HP themselves. But for now, again, part of that is just going to be from this full item bench that we're looking at right now. So we'll have to see if they decide to slam anything after the silver augment is picked up.
Oh, silver augment right now. That's not going to feel good for the people that are struggling, right? You've got Sky Panda down there. You've got Jaro Jaro down there. They are definitely not going to be enjoying the silver augment here because anybody who's played TFT a lot knows the lower the augment, or the lower tier the augment rather, the more skill required to move up and down in the placements, right? If everything is prismatic augments all the way through, the game is basically pure RNG. There's some skill to it, and but it's significantly more RNG than if you have a straight silver augment game. So in this instance, Sky Panda Jar Jar, they're gonna have to really focus on their
Oh, we
boards
got
and make
baited.
sure that
I'm sorry to cut you off, but we have been
no,
baited.
you're right.
That is the power of the advanced loan that is coming in here. For folks who don't know, because again, we're still learning all this stuff too. There's a
Damn
lot
it.
of TFT to take in. Advanced loan gives you a huge amount of gold, but also forces your tier one lower here. So this was
Eight.
Sky Pandas doing everything they can to reach for the skies. Now has for that wait for that loan to come due at the end of the day. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Ugly.
You really were on a
Oh,
roll, and it was an
no, that
excellent
was
point. Like
that was
something
the
to be
perfect time
mindful
to
of.
cut me off. That was hilarious, and I entirely blame Kate.
Hey, what can I say? It's easy enough to do as it goes on through. But for Sky Pandas, they've been able to find that aggression. They've been able to get Unlasta for free to unlock this Shyvana off their bench. So they're going to be able to look for a splash to get it going here too. Shyvana, any 2-star 5 cost, is going to be incredibly powerful here. Shyvana has such presence on the field, is able to give you quite a bit of extra damage, is able to give you quite a bit of extra tank and utility. The thing
Mhm.
that I'm only worried about here for Sky Pandas is what is that protecting right now? Because I'm still seeing
Yes.
two-star 1 costs in the backline on long shot, which isn't the really premier damage trait this set.
No, and the other side of this is the board that they're facing has a 1-star Shyvana of their own, right? With actual damage in the back line itself. So probably not favorable contest in this round as you see Sky Panda taking 30 damage, 32 damage, I believe is what came through. That doesn't
Whatever it
math out.
was, it's too close for comfort right now for Sky Pandas, going down to 3 HP and a dream. But they still have 30 gold. They can look to either level up to 8 or go for a roll down here, see if there's any free or 4 cost units that are able to save them from the scenario, or look for a legendary on the carousel to turn things around. Both Azir and the Kindred wouldn't be too bad here for them. Let's see what they decide to go for.
Yeah, I figured Zoinkers would want to grab that Azir, if not just for the tier, but because of the front line that Azir gives them if they're able to get this on their board, right? The 2 Sand Soldiers that spawn when you get Azir placed down. It's going to be phenomenal when you have the Yordle as your mainstay of your board, right? You want to be able to kind of stave everything off as much as you can while you're waiting to get these stars up. We had seen Zoinkers on a bit of a win streak earlier on, but has since then fallen back quite a bit as well. But that 3-star Tristana has been hit. That is a big thing. You can see the 3-star Teemo, the 3-star Rumble, both out there as well. Swain in there to provide some tankiness. I'm not even opposed to spending the gold to level up. Or did they already send? They already sold the Azir. Okay, I was about to say I wouldn't have been opposed to leveling up to play the Azir, but instead it looks like they're doing a little bit of rolling.
I like it for the front line too. And the level up, I think, is incredibly important here, just to make sure you're able to find ways to stabilize a little bit more here. Azir been great for front line, but activating a few more Yordle here gets you more stats for all of your Yordles to keep them alive as long as possible. I think that works out pretty nicely, all things considered. I'm just worried about where Zoinkers looks to go here next, because their econ is looking okay. Level 7 to level 8 was nerfed a little bit here, so they need to start winning. They need to start econing if they want to make it to level 8, and right now it's not looking too likely.
No, going down to Jaro there at that, who is again just kind of our middle of the road board. There's still a high possibility of them facing Crispy Lettuce in the upcoming combats after the next PBE round, let alone this one itself. Zoinker's got to be feeling it. They wouldn't be the first out though, because Sky Pandas falls in that last round. Done and dusted for them in this game number 1, out after 4-5.
Yeah, and hold on, I just gotta check in my refrigerator really quickly, and yeah, the lettuce is still crispy at the very top over here. 100
Mhm.
HP and a dream coming into 4-6. And let me tell you, that is something I am always incredibly terrified of. Once you're able to maintain a streak for a little while, you're able to really warp the economy of the rest of the lobby. For here, though, we are starting to see a few more exciting options appear. Say, for example, the Aurelian Soul that has been unlocked for Jade Shot, which is one of these endgame 7-cost units they have to watch out for. You need to maintain as many Targon as possible in order to really make sure you can level him up, collect the Stardust, and get it working. But
Oh,
truly, the Zoe is the star of the show.
yeah, I was just about to say exactly that. Zoe managing to clean up the end of that board right there. I thought that was going to be a quick little downfall for Jade Shot as they get their kind of first focus in the gameplay today, but thankfully able to clean that up. And I mean, again, Aurelian Soul, one of my favorite legends in the main game, is once it further an incredible unit within TFT itself.
Well,
I
if we can actually
love,
hover the, I was gonna say, if we could hover the ability, we can go into why Aurelian Soul is
yes,
so insane here at the end of the day. Because Aurelian Soul collects
look at this.
Stardust in probably one of the longest ability descriptions that I've seen in TFT in quite a while. But you gain more Stardust for every Targon champion on the board, and for every Stardust you collect, you get to breakpoints that are able to give you more and more power. With that final breakpoint, effectively allowing you to just win the game.
Yeah, the game starts or the round starts and the board dies, and
Yeah,
all,
easy
all
peasy.
that remains is dragon.
And you know what? I think that's exactly what Aurelian Soul would want. But to also sort of further highlight some of the other Targon units here, I will note that despite the fact that this is a double trouble board, the only double that is troubled is the bubble coming in here from the Zoe. And let me tell
Beautiful.
you, that is actually enough in and of itself here. Zoe has been one of these menaces at the free cost level just because of all the utility that her bubble provides. It's magic shred, it's a little bit of chill, and it is, as you can see from these couple of blasts here and there, a lot of damage coming down here onto this ghost board.
Exactly. And the big thing about that in this particular situation for Jade Shot is all it's doing is further stacking Aurelian Soul. This is an incredibly strong board without the dragon, which just means the dragon has all the time that he is going to need to collect that Stardust on the back of these trouble bubbles and just continue to build and build and build. The question is, can he char the crispy lettuce? Because at this point, as you said, still in the fridge, which means unsinged.
Hey, and wasn't able to find that singed either, like we were talking about here. Just this economic power that's been able to rush them up to level 9, look for some of these legendaries. Still holding on, by the way, with 1 stars of them. That Fiddlesticks really
Wow.
is looking for a bit of extra power, but it is going to be the Senate and Lucian, probably one of the safest splashes that you can throw in for this set, just because of that innate power they provide. Bit of damage resistance when Senna is out, a bit of damage amp when Lucian is out here. So all that should go pretty well together for the rest of Crispy Lettuce's board.
Yeah, we love a husband-wife combo when they get to roll together the way that these two champions do. And obviously, as you can see, still incredibly powerful board. I mean, that Nico almost untouched until the very end right there. So Crispy Lettuce is doing a lot, but 0 gold in hand. Hard rolling down looking for that 2-star Fiddlesticks, and that could be the difference maker. You mentioned when you are sitting at this 100 gold, at this perfect, sorry, at this 100 HP, at this perfect win streak scenario, you don't end up with anything in your bank when you're doing it the way that Crispy Lettuce is doing. These other players, some of them, Jaro not being one of them, unfortunately, still have 40, 50 gold and are going to be able to roll for more of these five costs, even up to the 7 cost, as what you can see with the dragon there when unlocked a little later in the game, but also be able to do significantly more rolls in one shot.
Even then, though, Jaro has had a little bit of extra luck here, was able to 2-star their Fiddlesticks, also has 2 copies of Silas, another 7-cost unit that we'll talk about a little bit later from here. But overall, things have been looking pretty solid overall. But to get back to that econ that we were saying here, it is starting to become harder and harder for other players to be able to stand this. Zoinkers and Mochi both went down just a round ago, I believe at a proper tie, with Zoinkers just narrowly winning out on the tiebreak. And then from there, you have to do everything in your power to try to make sure you're able to stay back in here, find these legendaries. When Crispy Lettuce has this econ advantage and they're able to roll for the Mbessa 2, roll for the Seraphine 2, which, by the way, that Mbessa 2 opens up to Mel, another powerful 5 cost that we'll be talking about likely in just a little bit. We'll keep an eye on Crispy Lettuce as that comes through. The rest of the lobby is looking for more and more ways to catch up, and let me tell you, I still see that the gap has widened here even further. 51 HP between first and second, with 8 HP currently in fifth, hanging on right now to see if they're able to unseat Jaro Jaro.
Now let's flip ourselves over to Enki really quick here because they are on a win streak. They do have that 5 win streak, which means they are going to be facing Crispy Lettuce soon. And holy cow, that is 2020 HP on the Scion.
Try one more time.
Bonus. Bonus.
7,510, which
2020 bonus HP.
well, either which way, pretty closely. 2020 was an interesting year for all of us, and an interesting year for
Nope.
TFT, to be clear. First year that we started seeing some TFT esports really beginning to break into the fold here, but I gotta say, this Scion is absolutely massive here. The Annie is gonna do quite a bit of work with that burn, will ensure that Scion is able to be a little bit more distracted, but is such a huge beef tank to allow for this Bard to stay on board.
I want to see the damage at the end of this actually. If you could show us that really quickly. I want to see the damage that was done by the Bard versus by the Aphelios, because the Aphelios stacked a lot right there. Take a look at both of these. Yes, 11,000 damage. There's a 4,000 damage difference, but it's the hybrid between the types of damage that is incredibly important here, right? That way your opponent isn't just stacking a single type of resist. They're not only building armor or only building magic resist. They have to be afraid of both. And Bard kept the Aphelios alive for quite a while as well, which let that red buff do a decent chunk of true damage as well.
And by the way, this is also the time where I gotta call it that Kobuko and Yumi, another one of these unlockable units that have come out in this set, where even when Kobuko dies, Yumi is able to persist, is able to look to heal up units here, there, and everywhere. I do have to talk about one more adaptation here, as this is going to be fighting the ghost of Crispy Lettuce. Crispy Lettuce has thrown in the Zillion. Zillion throws out time bombs. If there's a time bomb out for 18 seconds on a unit, that unit just explodes, executes, no amount of HP can save it. Watch this space, watch this time. Zillion goes down. Enki is able to win against the Ghost, and Crispy Lettuce starts taking big hits, already down to 71 HP.
Who did Crispy Lettuce just lose to?
I don't know, we'll have to keep an eye out there.
They went down to Soul Ninja. Soul Ninja running. Oh, yeah, look at the 5 costs.
Yeah, that would
here.
do it.
Yep. Okay, so we got just a handful of 2-star 5 costs on the board here with the Orin in hand to help get them some items as they go too. I mean, this is what we were talking about, right? With when you sit in that first place and you just keep spending and spending and spending and spending, trying to push that perfect game. Meanwhile, you have somebody else a little lower down who hits the heavy econ. They hit the level 9 with a good 70, 80 gold still in pocket and get that massive 1-round roll down to get all of these 2-star 5 costs. Look at this board.
Well, let's also piece together what everything is happening here. We've already talked a lot about Lucian and Senna. That's bonus damage amp, that's bonus damage resistance coming in depending on who is out on the field. On top of that too, Kindred, fantastic option for utility here. Keeps units alive with the Lambs or Spite, just like regular League of Legends. And Ornn, frankly, is the greediest option here at the end of the day. You're looking to print items, you're looking to bring more artifacts in. That's going to be risky when you're going against Enki, the remaining win streaker here. Again, I'm really nervous about this Scion. It's perfectly positioned here, should be able to tank up most of the damage that can come in from this Lucian. Watch that bullet time go onto the field, but everything else does appear to be melting. It's going to be tricky.
This is going to come down to Kindred versus Scion, right? Which one lives and is able to keep everybody else alive longer? It's going to go to the Scion, clear as day. Not enough 5 costs can save you from that. Unfortunate with the Ornn 2 in pocket as well, by the way. You can see that sitting on the board unpurchased. So not enough to get through. Soul Ninja does pull out the 4th place at least, kind of scraped that from the bottom of the barrel if I do say so myself. Jaro, I did not expect them to still be in this. They had been playing middle to bottom middle of the field this entire game, done a very good job of finding themselves a decent spot, primarily I would say surrounding picking up the Annie Tibbers combo there. We saw Tibbers going kind of wild a little earlier on, using that Swain as a tank, but the 2-star Silas, the 2-star Shyvana, the 2-star Fiddlesticks all in hand here as well. I think this is Scion's game to lose.
I think so too, but Silas 2 is an incredibly powerful unit. difficult to unlock, requires you to sell quite a few units to even get to this point. But once Silas is able to do huge amounts of damage, isn't quite able to find that Bard early on, though, which will be a bit
Nope.
more difficult. Wait a second, what am I talking about? This is going absolutely insane. Who cares about this Scion? The rest of the team is gone.
Yeah, I think at this point it's very safe to make the very standard TFT joke of who let Faker play Silas?
Mm. Certainly comes out pretty nicely here. To go more in detail to those unlocks, in order to find a Silas in the first place, you need to sell a 2-star J4, a 2-star Lux, and a 2-star Garen at some point during the game, at which point you are granted an incredibly strong unit that's able to cycle through abilities and fit so nicely with this sort of 6 Arcanist line, which, to my knowledge, is one of the first major compositions that were sort of found in the PBE cycle for Lore of Legends. On top of that, is also one of the first Arcanist or magic damage based boards that I've seen that isn't lacking in frontline, combining Silas and the Tivers together here.
Exactly, and that was where I was going to head with it if you had stopped just a little sooner, was the
Hey,
fact that
sorry
we
about that.
actually have a playable Arcanist line that doesn't require half of the board being something totally different. Silas is a huge part of that, and look at the itemization that they have opted for as well in this situation, going for the crit, the sustain, but most importantly, the avoidance if he does end up at low HP. I think that is the difference maker here, as Enki finds himself on the losing end of that one. Crispy Lettuce finding themselves in second place at this point as well. This is a fight for second right now. I think Jaro with this Silas, under the assumption that they are able to kind of maintain their board as they go, should be able to take this. And Crispy Lettuce has, in my opinion, fallen folly to the classic blunder of TFT, going for that Mr. 100 and overspending too soon.
I mean, at the end of the day, though, this is a tournament. It is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Just
Yes,
being
sir.
able to make it into the top 4 this early on in the day gives you a lot of favor when it's time to reseed, gives you a lot of advantages when it comes down to points, and we just got to start culling people after game 3. So these little decisions here, Jaro, as you said, sort of sneaking on through, Crispy Lettuce maintaining that HP total that is, granted, now being spent to see if they have enough HP left in the tank to get to that fight for top 2, all of that is going to be enough to keep them going through the day.
So I am a box enjoyer. I watch a lot of box. Of course, phenomenally fun individual, plays way too much TFT for his own sanity, and he admits that, which is hilarious. But he frequently has talked about, and especially when he discusses it with Dish Soap, the utilization of HP as a resource, right? Because it is. You can spend health in ways to gain you advantages, be it spending health early on in order to further your econ on a loss streak.
Wait a second, I gotta cut you off here.
Oh no! Oh!
Arcanist. Ooh.
3-star 5 cut to game 1?
Yes, we'll give a quick update for that through that fight. We are just hearing word from our producers that we have a 3-star 5 cost in another lobby. Didn't quite hear which number it was from that initial
Lobby 3.
Lobby 3. Whew! That is insane. I guess I'll get out my wallet, my Pengu, my $25 over there, lying on the floor. I'll think about when we're going into our break for that next game. Cheers to you guys so early on. I didn't expect it so quickly. For now, though, let's keep eyeing what we're eyeing in here, see if we're able to ring out someone in this first game.
I'm pretty sure what we are eyeing is Ionia, so to speak, or Invoker, I guess, is the other option here. It is Mel. It is Mel who is doing insane amounts of work, not Ionia. My apologies on that one, but that is where the damage seems to be coming from to burn through this Scion. But the sustain from all of the different legends on the side of Crispy Lettuce is phenomenal. That is Enki going down. I mean, it was like 5 minutes ago that I said this was Scion's game to lose. And quite frankly, that seems to be exactly what we're witnessing, is Scion not being able to keep up with the strength of these phenomenally high cost units as they continue to build and grow. We talked about just how long the tooltip is when we were looking at Aurelian Soul. I mean, Mills isn't a whole lot shorter either. The passive is 4 lines long on her own, so Very complex unit, very strong unit, as we managed to hit 6-7 with 3 players still alive. To revert to what I was trying to say though, with your HP as a resource, spend it early to get the Lost Streak econ, or do what Crispy Lettuce did and spend it late. Yes, he did end up eventually losing life, just as he continues to do, but it did get him into the top 3 in that situation. That's all I was trying to say. Instead, people decided that charity is worthwhile and we love it.
Hey, I mean, I'm excited for it. That means, by the way, another $50 are going to be going in here soon, and we have 3 players remaining here on stage 7, which is completely ridiculous. These fights are going to be very lethal, and Crispy Lettuce fighting the Ghost Board here means that if they win, we are definitely going to see one more fight remaining. Looked at the itemization here, by the way, focusing things onto the Zillion, getting those bombs out could be the saving grace that Lettuce was looking for here. But again, it is going to be tricky. Silas has proven themselves time and time again, but the damage is going to be in their favor. Crispy Lettuce is able to make it. We'll have to see what the other folks are looking at here. Enki and Jaro Jaro still fighting it out. Jaro is able to
Oh,
take that lead. Enki goes down to third. Crispy and Jaro are going to now fight it out for first.
Crispy has no gold in hand, no plays to make. This is the board, and this will be the final fight. Flip over to Jaro, take a quick look. This is monstrous on hand with gold in pocket, and he's not even trying. He says, this is it. There's nothing more I can hit. Take a look at the bench. Take a look at the board. There's no 2 stars left to hit. There's no 3 stars he can afford. Playing it out, even with a Reforger in hand, comfortable with the items.
I mean, like we were talking about earlier, though, watch the Mel will drain a bunch of mana here, could prevent the Silas from casting. Watch the bombs coming in here. We've seen how they can absolutely wreck high health targets before. It will be tricky as it comes on through, but the damage seems like it is going to be just barely in Jaro Jaro's favor. Mel
No,
goes down. The dragon is all that's left. Wait a minute,
Tibbers.
that's not a dragon, that's a bear!
It comes down to Tibbers. Tibbers is gonna solo a dragon and a raven. There's no. Oh my God, this is close.
I mean, animal violence is terrifying. You may want to look away from the
What is
screen if you're not
happening?
comfortable with it. The bear gains attack speed
What
on
is?
Burns, but it's not going to be enough. That is
Oh
going to
my
be
God.
Crispy Lettuce defying the odds and sticking around, 100 HP or not. Hello and welcome back, everyone. We're here for Game 2 here at the Prismatic Poro Cup. Still Protroid, still Oshi. And let me tell you, I missed that three-star fiddlestick so much that we're making sure we're going over to the lobby where it happened.
Yes, we're going to make sure that we start and hopefully even end with the user known as Bean. Because congratulations to you for hitting the 3-star 5 cost bounty. We want to see you do it again.
And because you did, by the way, that meant more money went in during that break. So we went up to 170 now. Now only $30 away from our initial goal of $200. Again, only after one game. Absolutely insane stuff to see. If you want to get on that, there should be a Tiltify link somewhere in the Twitch chat, in the Ohgawdkate event server. Just go seek one out. Send $1 if you have the means to. It will be greatly appreciated for feeding America. Beyond that, though, I want to start looking forward into this next game here. Was there anything that you were expecting to see that just didn't seem to work this time around?
I wouldn't say something that I was expecting to see that didn't work. Something I was expecting to see that we didn't at
Mhm.
all in that entire lobby that we watched. We saw no void.
Mm.
Nobody went for a void. We talked about Malzahar being such an incredibly strong unit and how getting into picking up Shelly, and if you go all the way, being able to unlock Baron Nashor herself, we didn't see anybody even try. We saw Malzahar splashed in for Arcanist, or sorry, for Disruptor very
Disruptor?
briefly, but that was it.
Hey, I mean, it works out at the end of the day. Disruptor is incredibly strong, effectively giving your team an extra 10% durability to anyone that has been hit by one of those disruptor spells. So that will be effective no matter what. But I agree, Void is a very tricky thing to play around at the end of the day. Even if you are trying to go just for that Shelly unlock, you still have to look at what all these Void mutations are. And if you just hit ratty crap mutations, you're not really going to want to go for that at the end of the day. So, a lot of different factors here that could impact whether or not Void is played. We'll have to see if things shift around here in game two, and these players are going to be offered more interesting mutations to really get the ball rolling. Beyond that, though, again, I want to see more legendaries, and to do that, I actually want to see more Ishtal here. Another thing we actually
Yes.
didn't see in this initial game so far. Ishtal is the econ trait of lore and legends, and an important thing to note, a bit of a different take on an econ trait this time around. It's not just purely lost streaks, it's actually now a combination of a bunch of different missions that you need to complete in order to actually have a chance to even cash out.
And then the other side of all of that, that's something that we talked about briefly, but ended up not seeing because the individual who could have played it was Crispy Lettuce and just didn't lose 35 HP until round 6, basically, was singed. We did not see the wonky AI just yet. And more importantly, we didn't see anybody bug abusing, which we know can be an issue as well. So good on everyone so far for not getting disqualified. Please continue on that. But we didn't see the singed, and I anticipate one coming this time around just because of what we saw in Twitch chat. Somebody calling somebody else a singed one trick.
Hey, I mean, I love it. Not even on the live servers yet, and we're already trying to find which units that we're going to be one tricking us all to masters and grandmasters, I am sure. With that, though, let's take a look at where things are beginning in this lobby right here. And again, we're going to be starting out with Radish just to see what options are going to be able to come on through.
I like the name radish. You
I
know,
do
it's
too.
it's very simple, but it just like the vegetable itself, it's crisp.
Yeah, yeah. I would not quite lettuce levels of crisp, but
No,
it's up there. And we'll
well,
have to see if they're going to be able to carry on that crispy lettuce mentality coming into this game, holding up their spirit.
yeah, they go for the typical J squared 8 opener here this time around. The two kings on the board, always an interesting option. Chess players hate this one. So I don't know, so many puns that I could keep going with. I apologize to everybody. Hitting the
No,
two
no,
star
please
relatively
listen.
on.
They can complain. I'm here for it. Like this is good. This is good stuff. You got to hold on to it.
You're also an old man, I see.
Very much so. Very much so. But beyond that, here, those two kings have combined again another move that chess players hate. And from here, we just have to see what other options are moved on here. I have to say, I haven't personally been wowed by Demacia myself through some of these games. Working through, I found it a little bit underwhelming. But we'll have to see there are certain augment combinations that could try to make things more exciting. And at that gold level, there it actually is, by the way,
Oh,
Demacia Forever, right off to the
oh,
side,
this
but Portable Forge is the lock.
Yeah, wrong board for picking up the Demacia Forever as well in this one. They didn't have the units to go for it. I mean, other people may have. So we do see Portable Forge picked up. Personal favorite augment myself. I have a difficult time not taking that when it comes up. Let's hop around to everybody else here. Hopping up to Ewik here, we have Spreading Roots. Two emblems can
Oh,
be
wow.
very beneficial. Ooh, picking up Noxus and Piltover. Synergy's a little loose on that one, but let's see if maybe they reforge it.
Piltover Splash is easy to work in so many situations. They'll have to watch how that goes. Pandora's Bench, another classic if you played
Oh yeah.
TFT. Now, though, it's gold instead of silver, so a little bit harder to hit consistently. Aura farming once more with the old man on the bench here. Just has to wait for the right time to get here at stage 4-3.
That's going to be a massive pickup. Like you mentioned with that Zillion, those time bombs after 18 seconds, insta-give. Doesn't matter, nothing happens. You are removed from existence in the battle when that goes off. So it's going to be a very large pickup if they're able to survive to that point in the game. Hopping up to Koi Boy here. Let's see what they have on board. Opting for Epic.
Yeah, I gotta say
Epoch or
Epoch.
Epic? How do you like to
It's
pronounce
Epoch here,
it?
I
Epoch,
believe.
thank you.
Mhm. I don't know how they say it north of the border, but I believe it's Epoch at the end of the day. Independent though, whatever it is called, it is going to be incredibly strong here. Gives you a little bit of extra econ, both in terms of levels and rerolls. So that should be enough to get Koi Boy, enough to sort of stay competitive through the rest of this lobby.
Boy Boy throwing me back to Voyboy, the
Oh
old
yeah.
League player, just right through. Anyways, on the up to Radish here, we have Promised Protection. So Protector's Vow, classic item, but the additional benefits added here is going to be very good. Um, Interesting defender opener here with the Aphelios solo backline right now.
Hey, I mean, for me, this just kind of works out, right? Like, Defender is an incredibly strong frontline composition, and if we're playing in a set that really tries to help you go for a lot of different flex options here, just saying I'm going to pick a strong frontline option and then figure out the backline later, to me, that just feels like a solid way to begin playing this set.
I forgot how strong Vi is as well, actually.
Mm.
So that makes a lot more sense watching that fight and remembering those fists go hard.
Yeah, I mean, Arcane Season 1, Arcane Season 2, let alone however many seasons Vi's been around in League of Legends as well.
Oh,
It truly is just insane just how much Vi is able to do. And in TFT, despite being a 2 cost in this set as well, like, it is incredibly powerful, but also incredibly contested across this lobby as well. So we'll have to keep an eye out to see where these Vi's are going to end up.
yes. Is it a viable choice, if you will?
I do, and I shall. You
The way you
cannot
said "I
flabbergast me with a
shall."
pun. Like I am
No,
here
oh
for
no,
this. I
I'm
I
not
am
trying
here.
to. I'm setting you in with them. You told me
Hey.
you liked them. Now it's on.
Well,
the way
let's
the
see
way
if which
you
rolling
closed
golem
that out.
gathers the most moss off this blitzcrank right now. That
Uh,
should be
uh,
enough to get things going here, but again, just a bit of stall.
Istal, yes, something that we have not spoken about enough. I want to see it. I want somebody to go all in on it as we have a relatively early, I would say decently large HP separation with Zoinkers finding themselves tied for the bottom with two other players 15 HP down at 2-4 only.
Yeah, but let's put our box hats back on really quickly, which I think is
Hmm.
made out of cardboard if I'm remembering things correctly. But that is going to be you trading away 15 HP for the beginnings of a loss streak. The problem, though, is that you have multiple players going for that loss streak and now opening yourself up for that waffle. The loss, the win, the loss, the win. Anything that prevents you from getting a proper streak that will come back to bite you when you try to build up that economy.
So let's talk for a second about open fort because that's not really a thing that we see in this set, right? Nobody is really open forting anymore, despite how strong hitting those 8-9 levels is. And a lot of that has to do with unlocking champions.
Yeah, it is a lot riskier for, as you said, the unlocking side of things. You want to make sure you're still able to get things going to find those late game units that you want. It's also a lot riskier because, unlike in previous sets, there's been a change for, I think, 3 or so sets now. If two open fort players go against each other, the streaks completely reset, so no one is happy in that interaction instead of that 50-50 shot out of it that we've seen previously. For now, though, it is just going to be that question of who is able to lose the gracefulliest, I suppose, at the end of the day here between Morta and Senkyu.
Gracefully,
It's a word.
uh,
Look it up. It's in Webster's. Webster's got it.
yeah, sure. I trust Britannia because I'm a Brit, but that's neither here nor there. Vayne doing what Vayne does for a quick second there and flipping back and forth, but ultimately the rocket fist coming through, and Blitzcrank says, "No, I have a Gwen for you." That one going over to Senkyu in the end. And that is exactly what we were concerned about. Mortal managing to continue their loss streak, but Senkyu being one of those other players that was down at that 85, losing theirs. They went one and now they've gone one the other direction. So that is a loss of econ for them. Not something that you like to see. The Zillion on the bench is something you do like to see as we have moved into 2-6 and are getting ever closer to that coming onto the board. And again, a very defensive board option for being here, looking towards that Defender and Juggernaut combo with Melio as their backline.
Yeah, and Bean was also able to just hit Sejuani. That is absolutely excellent here to further buff up their board power. They're still level 4, so I'm not quite sure if this is going to be enough to give them that second win to get the streak of any kind going into the Krug round, but it is still going to be pretty beneficial, and Mortal also wouldn't mind getting a win themselves to try to get some kind of streak at Krugs.
Yeah, it's a difficult scenario for everybody, but Tina, I mean, she's proven it just in the very first game, the ability to go play for fun, hit that 3-star 5 cost, right? So you have to wonder, are they going to be going for something a little more serious this time, or is she just going to have a little bit of chaos in her life a second game in a row?
I mean, she's already got the Zillion on the bench here, and we've only talked about half of Zillion's ability, by the way,
Oh,
where
that's true.
that execute, that insta-give that you were talking about is absolutely insane. The other actually comes from Chrono Keeper, his trait, where every 2 bombs that Zillion throws out, he stores experience for you. And if it's ever enough to allow you to level up, he's just going to do that for you for free. And all that together means they're able to keep pushing levels while prioritizing board strength. And that is a dangerous combination for any TFT set.
By the way, it's worth keeping in mind if she does decide to go for the same chaos of hitting a 3-star 5 cost, okay? Zillion changes immensely when you 3-star him because it is no longer 18 seconds, which is a 1-star, 16 seconds at 2-star for the bombs to wipe you off the board. It is a 1-second elimination. You have 1 second and then you are removed from the board for the fight. So, little bit of mana generation on the side. It's only 35 mana in the first place, but a little bit of mana generation on him at that 3 cost. And I think Bean could find herself in an incredulous situation.
Yeah, and I think those bombs get pretty big at the 3-star level too. But again, I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. Lots of crazy stuff. Bean has obviously primed the pump here a little bit, and we want to see it. I know I do. But we have to keep our minds here at stage 3 as Koi Boy has slotted in Bilgewater, another one of these verticals
Yay.
that we didn't really see too much in that previous game here. Bilgewater allows you to gain Serpents, which you can turn into more benefits as the game goes on in that black market shop, that little thing you see down in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen.
Crew, 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 crew.
Crew.
We stand us some silver serpents in this game. There's nothing more fun than watching Gangplank blow up minions with his barrels and get that extra cash for those extra benefits, opting for the makeshift armor to go in with it as well. There's the shop you can see at the bottom right there. Opting to pick something up as a bonus, maybe not just yet. Continue earning those silver serpents for yourself. Get something a little better along the way. Do some rolling as you're at it. Let's take a look at our top 2 players. As you can see, Uick suddenly finding themselves with 112 HP after picking up Titanic Titan.
And hey, this gives them more HP that they're able to spend to look for some of these advantages here, there, and everywhere. We also get the confirmation that there's been rerolls now looking at this board as well. Slayer and Disruptor have moved in for those spreading roots. Didn't quite see if they explored the Piltover. That's
It was
still going to
Piltover
be
Noxus.
incredibly effective.
Yeah, Piltover Noxus is the original too. I like this reroll, particularly Slayer, because we talked a little bit about Slayer at the very, very start when we were talking about Void. I feel like Slayer is, I don't want to call it inherently underrated as a trait, but it has the ability to be dreadfully powerful.
Well, let's talk about the things that make Slayer incredibly powerful here, because the first one that always comes to mind is your boy Gangplank, right? Gangplank has both Slayer and Vanquisher. That gives you a lot of free AD, a lot of free crit. Combine that with Bilgewater, which is also giving you bonus base stats as well. That could be an explosive combination for any team composition at the end of the day. The other thing for Slayer to mention, though, is that easy access to Aatrox. Aatrox is
Yeah.
another one of these crazy 5 cost units that to unlock, you need to be level 8 and have a unit that starts combat with 40% Omnivamp. And Slayer's going to get you halfway there, just a BT away, let's say, from being able to properly get things rolling.
And when you drop a BT onto somebody like Graves, it's going to save you HP. It's guaranteed to save you HP. And on top of that, you also then just take that and drop it on the Aatrox when you put him in play. It will go well for you. And this is what we expected to see on top of that all is the Void Splash coming in. Because, as we've talked about before, Belveth is a Slayer and is a, I don't want to say strong unit, but she's certainly not one to shy away from.
Again, like all these Void units, it kind of does depend on if you are able to get the unlocks that really work nicely with Belveth at the end of the day. I don't quite remember the name of it right now, but there's one that gives a bunch of extra stacking stats as well. So that is certainly something that Belveth likes to try to look for in order to really activate things up. The other thing I want to call out, though, is the ways that you play Bilgewater here, because Ewik is showcasing one of them right now. which is buying a couple of units, selling them for the econ. It's usually done when you're not planning on staying in Bilgewater for an extended period of time. The other that we see folks have gone to if they want to stay for the vertical is really focusing in and honing in on those stat bonuses here and there, because your Bilgewater units are naturally going to be that tiny bit weaker than regular units just because they got a power budget for all those free bonus stats coming on in. I'm sorry, look at that giant kiwi loaf just like sombering
That's
around the field right now. That is
beautiful.
adorable. Like, whew, sorry, gotta catch my breath from the cuteness right there. Okay, I'm back. All that kind of works together to be something pretty incredible. But you know what else is incredible? The fact that I can go back in my fridge here, and while I don't know what happened to the cabbage, there's now a radish here that's also looking particularly fresh with a Mr. 100 streak of their own.
It would be so fun to see that happen, but we're not going to talk about it in the immediate because instead we have the unit of choice. If we're going to go down the route of talking about soups as you make them, this is your mirepoix. This is your base. This is your three sisters. This is Singed.
I mean, let me tell you, I've watched Arcane. I don't know if I want to drink any concoction that Singed is able to brew up at the end of the day, but you are right. In TFT, Singed has become one of these cornerstone units for a lot of compositions that we've seen in the late game. It is a fan favorite ability as well, or I should say maybe fan infamy favorite. You know, we're just gonna keep going and pretend I said a cool word right there. Pull out your thesaurus, pick out a word of choice, we'll move on. From that, though, Sage is absolutely incredible, is able to get lots of good damage here, and just generally be the same distraction you see on the Rift.
I just love how silly this AI is. There's two units alive, and what does he do? Just run back and forth, back and forth, back and forth across one of them. The biggest
Hey,
thing that
it's
you see with Singe, though, is as you mentioned, it isn't just, it's the distraction, right? It isn't necessarily damage, it isn't just damage, but it is the sustain, but the distraction as well. Passive and the active show you right there just what he does, but it is the AI, and I don't mean the BS, what we talk about AI in the greater part of the world. I mean the intelligence of the unit that has been programmed into the game artificially. It's pathing and how that is determined, the AI of Singed, that is wonky at best. The thing that it manages to do in tandem with the remainder of wonky AI in this game is it can get into your backline, such as to the Singed or to the Jin in these moments, and they will start attacking the Singed if it is timed incorrectly. And then Singed, being who he is, runs away, and it can force those backline units to run forward and find themselves in a poor position. On top of that, when you add the Bloodthirster, you saw just right there how long Singed can live for while being that distraction. Now, it didn't, of course, play out perfectly well for Zoinkers that time around, but that is one of the many problems for a lot of people when facing this unit. And I'll tell you what, when they're going about it with Pandora's Bench, this could be insanely funny very quickly.
Yes. Well, I mean, Zoinkers does have a pretty clear plan approaching this as well, and I feel like when you're looking at Singe this set, you have to think a lot about Malzahar in KO Coliseum. And if you recall how you would build Malzahar, it is a lot of shred, it is a lot of anti-heal, it's all these things are able to really get things spreading. Singe with the poison here, if you're able to give him a Void Staff, if you're able to give him Morellos, hell, even the red buff actually works pretty effectively here, because for Singed, attack speed is mana generation, and you're able to use that to further get these casts over and over again. That becomes a pretty clean option here to really get things going. And now that we have sevens on, we have more durability for the Singe, we have more healing for the Singe. Honestly, this is starting to look even less killable.
Let's take a quick look. Just go back to Zoinkers really quick. My apologies, but take a look at the second augment there and what we're working with here. The Fire Axiom is adding 15% damage, AP, and burn plus wounds, right? For this is a Jinx in the back corner. This is about as perfect a location as you could get for trying to play Zon.
The only thing I gotta think of though is, will we ever see the Singed run back to that fire hex here, forgo the Morellos, instead try to get a bit more survivability? I think it'd be pretty exciting. For now though, 7 Zon seems like enough of a spike for Zoinkers to feel pretty safe again, so we'll have to check back in with her later and see what is happening on a few other boards here as Koi Boy is getting ready to see what their next augment choice is.
Yeah, sitting in this Warden Shadow Isles kind of cavity, if you will, trying to determine what path forward they're going to take. As you mentioned, Shadow Isles, incredibly vertical. You either take it all the way up and tab out of it, or you just kind of use it for a short bit in the middle ground instead, opting for reinforcements. So, could be very beneficial and could very much force a pivot, opting for the Swain and also hitting the Mbessa 2 at the same time. What a roll!
Oh, that is so clean. It's so
Wow!
clean. I don't think I have too many notes to say. On top of that, too, now you have Investa 2 at 4-2. If you are so inclined with that itemization, you could try to unlock Mel as early as possible to get her
Hmm.
stacking and looking for that radiant item for free as well. So I don't know. This is looking incredibly strong. I won't be surprised if Koi Boy starts eyeing up a Noxus splash. And yep, here we go. That's going to be everything you need to try see if you can focus down and lose Mbessa first.
Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't try and pick up the Mel early. We talked about how strong of a unit that she is just when you have her at all. Imagine that at 4-2. Just imagine how early that they are going to be able to pick up this Mel if things go correctly. Unfortunately, Ambessa refuses to die.
I don't know about that. Ice Queen, Ice Witch is able to get things going from the Freljord, and we are going to see Koi Boy contain a win here on the back of also being able to kill the Mbessa. So, hey, that's a win-win. Best case scenario here. And Mbessa will also be that Noxus unit that you could be looking for. Oh, excuse me, I may have spoken too soon. The win is not in sight here.
Cool.
Koi Boy continues a loss streak, but has a Mel for their troubles.
Yeah, and again, this is 4-3. Mel has been unlocked and immediately in the shop. Get that on the board. Get that bonus going. Take a look at this. The Noxus splash, as you called. 3 Warden will go back up to 4 very quickly, as one would assume. And this is it. This is your end game board. At this point, Koi Boy, already sitting at level 8, is going to be playing the slow roll game, I would assume, at this point. At a 3-loss streak, probably going to be pivoting into a win streak soon. Let's hop back up to the top of the leaderboard as we get into combats here and look at Radish. The crispiest of crisp has fallen slightly, a little bit of wilt on their leaves, facing up against the game one hero being the one responsible for your pocketbook being slightly lighter.
Hey, I mean, well, first of all, we'll talk about that later, Bean. But second of all, the thing I want to focus on, though, is that the Zillion has been truly unleashed right here, off the bench, now fully on the board here at the end of the day. And all these time bombs that you see are going to be more than enough to continue
Wow.
this roll. If we actually hover over that Zillion, and we actually will do that after the carousel, but we will see how much XP is stored, and we'll have to see how they are able to maintain this force, how they're able to keep on keeping on, and really just skip up and save gold as they approach level 8. For now, though, looking at the rest of the lobby, things are still looking dire towards the bottom end of things. Zoinkers at 22 HP and a dream. Rest of the lobby is looking pretty much in the middle of things, hovering between 40 and 60.
We just had a carousel where the last 2 things left to be selected were a frying pan and a fiddlesticks. So people are very set in the direction that they're headed and were incredibly focused on picking up the items that they wanted. And seemingly no one is chasing that fiddlesticks 2-star at this point. Well, I shouldn't say that, as Radish obviously has one on board at the moment, sorry, on bench at the moment. So interested to see where that heads. But they have maintained this defender lineup throughout the entire game so far.
Let's also talk about what Fiddlesticks does very briefly. This goes back to, again, all these interesting splashes. The thing that makes Fiddlesticks splashable is the fact that Harvester is actually causing every unit on the enemy team to lose 10 armor and magic resist, right?
Mhm.
Like, there is a bunch of other benefits here that were gone out, and when you combine that with the fact that we are now also one off of Disruptor, another thing that is going to be working really nicely here with the Fiddle, keep it alive, try to make sure that that damage shred is able to stay a little bit longer. With Piltover, EMP, even if it's not able to win this fight, should be enough to preserve more and more HP. Actually might even be
Oh,
enough to win this fight. Ooh, I think those Mel Orbs continue to drain mana even after death, and I think that was the difference maker there for Radish.
Yeah, that was
Oof. Oof.
99% off cast. Like that was 99% of cast. Sorry, not off cast. That was very, very tight.
Yeah, speaking of type, by the way, 10 HP left for Zoinkers. They were able to hit at least one 2-star forecast, but the second, the Singed, is still looking a little further off than I think they would like to see. Different options come on through. Nothing that was really exciting here. Singed has made it down to the Fire Hex, so that's going to be that innate burn that we were talking about here. The extra AP from Archangel should be nice too, but we'll have to see if Zon 7 survivability is going to be enough or if the rest of the board isn't able to pull the weight.
Yeah, this is the, so to speak, best combat that they could have been asking for, because this is the player that is second to last at the moment. So both of them on the weaker board side previously. It looks like they are just able to pull through on that. Actually, the Warwick Jinx combo, true to arcane lore, being perfect to come down onto the head of the Vi Chibi on the other side there. As beautiful as that may have been, Zoinkers, you are on your last legs at the moment, and you're only rolling for a 2-star Singed with a 10% chance of hitting any 4-star, let alone the one that you want. I understand you still have that board rolling for you courtesy of Pandora's, but I mean, this PBE could be the last, or sorry, PVE could be the last PBE that we see of you in this game.
Okay, it is going to be risky to see, but I want to see what the itemization options come here for the Singe, because any last spots that come through can be a difference maker at the end of the day. I wouldn't mind seeing an Edge of Night. Anything that drops aggro for Singe is going to be incredibly effective. For now, though, we are going to have to look over here for that second option. Zoinkers off camera, by the way, does hit the Singe too, so good for her. She is able to find the last little piece of the puzzle. Over here, though, switching things back over to Senkux, who I don't quite think has been able to find the Slayers that they were looking for a little bit more initially.
No, so they did have to pivot a little bit off of that one. They do have the Lotus, by the way, in their augments, so they have the kind of RNG of crit on abilities on their side here. That can always make or break any fight, as they find themselves going up against Uik, who is bottom of the ladder so far, but it is not going to be easy, as you see that Fizz making its way to the back line and then just breaking aggro as they do, reverting damage and focus onto the tanks once more.
I gotta say, though, this is doing much better than I expected it to be. The trait web
Wow.
isn't anything too crazy to write home about, right? Like, Forzon always feels a bit weird. Haha, playing in between a trait point. We get it. We've heard the jokes since set 2. But beyond that as well, honestly, Kiana's doing way more work than I kind of expected her to in that previous fight with just 2 items.
Yeah, and it's the combination of what the two items are and the way that they synergize and stack with one another with Kiana's, I would say, movement, I guess, is kind of a
Yep.
weird way to put it, but it's true because
She hops.
it's, yeah, she hops, right? And that forces units to chase her if she hops to somewhere else, and that just delays damage, and then she has the opportunity to heal more as well. So it is a good unit in its own right. I mean, against an Mbessa too, I hedge your bets on that one, but you know, she can do what she does.
I mean, Mbessa hops as well, so that's going to be really rough for the Kiana to overcome, and she's not going to be able to make it here at the end of the day. That is a huge amount of damage from Koi Boy, taking Sunkux down to 7th place, just above Zoinkers, who was unfortunately out in 8th just last round.
I love the name Zoinkers so much, and I
too.
feel so bad that they ended up in last, because it's such a good Scooby-Doo reference, to be fair,
It
right?
is.
That's what it really comes down to. And you and I, being the old people that we are, obviously watched a significant amount of it.
It's true, but, like, I'm getting terrified because, I'm getting ready to post that immortal image on my Twitter next year of "I'm 30 years old" at the
Oh,
end
you're
of the
not old,
day,
man.
right? Like,
Jesus.
I mean, I'm esports old. Like, we have that revolving door kinda coming through here
I'm
of all these
35.
folks leaving around, but yeah, no, that is, uh if 30 is esports old, I don't wanna think about what 35 is in esports years. That is, whew.
I have been informed that the term is unk.
Unk. I'll take it. I'll take it.
The FGC people out there are going to ruin me for saying that, but that is neither here nor there, as both places is currently Koi and Mortal absolutely brawling out this fight. And Koi Boy looks like they could be taking it, but this Senna is everywhere. Mel orbs are the difference maker in the end. Mortal does not survive the
Oh, this goes down
-1.
too.
We have lost half of our players in 5.
And we have another tiebreak for the record here as well. Uick and Mortal both down to -1. Uick managing to stick on a little bit more off the tiebreaker. That is really insane to see. Also, we'll have to keep a closer eye out here for Bean's board, just because I do want to see how they've been able to play off the back of this Zillion as well. Remember, this Zillion should be granting them a bunch of free XP. It has taken them here up to level 8 as well, so we'll have to see if that's enough to also sneak them up to 9.
It'll be very interesting indeed. Again, we talked about the Fast 8 versus Fast 9 and how splashing in all of these 5 costs as you get up there it becomes incredibly important. So the fact that Bean has found herself in this situation with that early Zillion because of the augment selection, and then on top of that, also hitting the further augments to strengthen this board and opting to play Freljords on top of it all, I think is particularly interesting. Now, do you think that's a strategic choice, or is this more so you play what you hit?
Well, I feel like Freljord is just one of these, hey, I need a good base for my soup options here at the end of the day, and you can't really go wrong with it. It's a bunch of great stats depending on where you're putting things in reference to those frozen turrets at the end of the day. The thing that I want to eye, though, is again just how effective these Zillion bombs are. It's enough to actually take down Koi Boy, who's really become a Grim Reaper here of this game so far. But it's also enough to, again, give you more and more stacks. If we can actually click on the Zillion and hover over the Chrono Keeper really quickly, you'll get to see it's already 28 stored experience here. And that means that should they want to, Bean could level up to 9 this turn and have an extra 28 gold in their pocket.
Which is insane to think about, right? The fact that you're at 62, you need to drop 58 to do that naturally, and instead you only have to use half of it to level up. That is phenomenal. But at this point, I would say Tina Bean has absolutely no reason to do that. All she has to do is wait.
Yeah, the more you do, the more stacks you accrue, the more natural experience you're able to find. All that should work out pretty nicely in their favor. But look at what Radish has been able to build at the end of the day. There is going to be a Lucian in Senna 2 doing insane amounts of damage, giving you insane resistances as well against the ticking damage of Bean Zillion. And by the way, Bean, we got to talk about this. The free star was amazing the first game, right? My wallet is empty now. I don't got anything else kind of in here. I can work something out maybe. Things actually... I'm not even on camera. I tried to use my wallet as a prop and stuff fell out of my wallet. So great, I got to clean that up later. But independent of that, I see you already have 2 additional Zillions on your bench. Are you trying to see if you can go for another one?
You know what? Irrelevant of the status of your wallet or of Kate's wallet, because she also happened to match this, we have not only hit the $200 goal, we have exceeded it at $270.
Oh!
35% over the goal for Feed America. Thank you, everybody who is out there at the moment. It's not over. This was a goal. This was a benchmark. I say double it.
Hey, it's a great way to look out for it here, and something that we're going to keep an eye on as we go through the rest of this game. Bean was given that free level up that we were talking about from the Zillion, is trying to use that to roll as much as they can, and let me tell you, you got a Bird Emperor, that's going to be a pretty healthy option here at the end of the day.
Bird Emperor. She's a queen. Actually, there's 3 leaders of the Freljord on the board at the moment, by the way.
Oh yeah, what do you know? We got the full 3 sisters here, trying to see if they're able to duke things out. I'm surprised that Bean's board has been so cordial, but unfortunately cordiality is not going to be enough here in the face of Aya, and that is going to mean that Bean goes down.
Yeah, indeed. That was not very close of a fight. That is 4th place for Bean. Koi Boy going down in 3rd. And now we find ourselves crispy radish trying to live up to the crispy vegetable hype here. After game number one, we saw going over to crispy lettuce themselves. Radish has been doing significantly well so far, running, like you had called, a plethora of bronze tiers on on the left. Blah. Wow, let's just assume I knew what I was talking about. Went ahead and said it. In comparison to Ayaya's board, while they are currently sitting on that win streak, they are looking as gold as can be.
Yeah, I will note really quickly, Ayaya here is also running a Viego hero augment, which has allowed Viego to immediately go to the backline here, take out the Seraphine. That is going to be a huge difference maker in this fight. But unfortunately, look at all the other damage that has come down here. Viego is able to get some good power here at the end of the day, but it's tricky to work through that clean.
Now, you did just see pop up on the screen, though, for Radish. Mel Unlock has come through. So whether or not they choose to chase it, they do have the one. But where do you put it in? What are you going to get rid of to put this on? And is it even worth it?
I
They
kind of
opt.
like it here.
Yep. They dropped the
Tarek
Targon.
Yeah. Targon doesn't give you any innate stats. It's just going to be the Tarek, which granted was giving you magic resistance. That's not as crazy, I would say, as some of the other things that we could see coming in on this board. And just having that extra body from Noxus, especially when that last fight went so close, could be an effective answer to this. We'll have to see. Diego's already doing a ton of damage. Also just casually whacks to the backline in order to take down Mel as well. No Radiant Edge, just to try to get things through here at the end of the day. Lucian and Senna are doing a ton of work, actually. What the heck, actually?
What?
Oh! You know,
Oh my goodness.
I have to learn something from this. And what I have to learn is I need to stop writing obituaries while I'm talking. Because it's very impolite. And Lucian and Senna, having dealt with not one but two harrowings now, I don't think they really appreciated my tone through some of that last analysis.
Well, and to be fair, of all of the legends in League of Legends, writing an obituary for Senna is just not a good idea.
No, not in the slightest.
Ask Thresh.
Yeah. We'll have to see.
Anyways.
No, I agree. We'll have to see which way that's going to be able to end up here. Radish's board is looking just incredibly clean just here at the end of the day. The other thing I actually want to call out super quickly is actually going back to that initial augment that was picked up here with Protector's Vow, because the additional mana generation does mean that Swain is going to go for stuns even faster. So that's another thing that we should be keeping an eye out for in this fight. For now, though, despite the fact that we are seeing the Viego show come in, it is going to be harder and harder to get things going from some of these attacks. And I think it just truly is a positioning battle watching this back once or twice.
100%. I was about to say the exact same thing. The difference maker that we saw right there was the stuns that came out on the current left side of the board. On the Senna side, the Fiddlesticks, no cast, didn't come off. Senna, one cast. That's it. It was incredibly unfortunate for Radish, but incredibly well played by Ayaya. It was that positioning difference ultimately made, and you can see the players both popping back and forth to one another's boards, trying to make these small alterations, these little pivots and changes as to where each individual unit is, because no one's hitting anything that's going to make a huge difference. But the Swain is now in the middle of the board. That is the difference maker that Radish is looking for, but unfortunately it looks like it just put it straight in the way of the Viego. Chews through that front line, makes their way onto that back line, the POV switch, and that is going to be the game over to Ayaya. Does make the difference in the positioning, manages to eat through the front line and decimate the back line with that Viego augment that you pointed out. Well done, and we love to see a kitten on top.
Hello and welcome back now to game 3 of the Prismatic Poro Cup 2. Still Protroid, still Oshi, still debating whether or not beans go into chili, but I feel like we have to table that discussion for another time.
We shall table the palaver in order to sit and say, lettuce soup. Lettuce soup. Because Crispy Lettuce managed to win their second game as well as the first one, which we witnessed ourselves. So it is indeed a double dose of lettuce going into the pot. Certainly at this point, it is what we are looking at for our top contender. as we move into game number 3, and you brought something up that you said you didn't want to talk about, but I'm going to make you talk about it anyways because we have not and aren't really anticipating seeing Rise.
Yeah, and this sort of goes back to some of the little quirks of the unlock system here, right? Because one of the things that the development team has said going into the set is that even though the cost of a unit is definitely going to be a benchmark for the rough power level of the unit, the unlock conditions are also going to be a very big benchmark as well. So Rise, while still, I believe, still a 5 cost, not quite up at a 7 just yet, because Rise has a much deeper trait of unlocks here, a lot more stuff you have to contend with to actually get him in the first place. He's going to be a little bit stronger than, say, the T Hex, which is basically guaranteed if you play Piltover Vertical at the end of the day. So, is very curious to see how that is all going to flow on through. I personally am here for it because I feel like Rise boards have a lot of room for creativity in them, depending on how you're able to play out your regions, if you're able to find emblems to get a few other cool splashes in. As you said, though, it's tricky. I like this wish casting though because it means we get the chance of actually seeing it though in this tournament, but not something that I expect to see game after game, even when this does hit live servers.
No, and when we were talking about ASOL, we were talking about just how long the tooltip is for them. Rise puts that to shame.
Oh,
Um,
theoretically infinite, yeah.
yeah, it's like reading. It's you're comparing one Lord of the Rings book to if you actually read Lord of the Rings all three as a single book. That's kind of the comparison that you're making between the two. But wish casting, I think, is the perfect term, not just for what we're talking about in terms of these characters that we would really like to see, but also for what we're looking at for Feed America as a whole, because we have bumped our current goal up just ever so slightly. So we were at 270 out of 200. Thank you to absolutely everybody, you included, Pro, for those donations that have been made. We had hit, again, $270 donated so far. We bumped the cap just a little bit up to a $300 goal now. So if everybody that is currently sitting in the stream donated $1, we would not only hit but exceed that by slightly as well. It would be fantastic to be able to do because, as many of you know, a lot of families are struggling with hunger at the moment. SNAP benefits are undergoing a significant, difficult time. So, if you have the ability to help your neighbor directly, go ahead and do that. Or you can help your neighbor indirectly with donations to nonprofit and charity organizations such as Feed America. It would be wonderful if you have the opportunity to do that. And if not, we totally understand. We appreciate you being here and supporting Ohgawdkate charity events as usual.
And I will say really quickly too, as a quick kudos to you, you were a much braver commentator than I, not only undergoing a powerful ad read for an important cause, but also doing math while you do it. Like the number of times that I've seen commentators willingly say, "Hey, I'm gonna do some math here," even basic math is very, very few and far between. So hats off to you for taking up that risk. Now everyone knows that you are capable of counting, a skill that many commentators are looked at with a little bit of confusion here, there, and everywhere. But there is one more thing we have to talk about as we're getting into game three, which is to say that this is going to be the first game that is going to be experiencing some cuts. If you are not able to make it into the top 16 after this game, you are out. Your tournament run is done, and we have to move down to 2 lobbies from 4.
And then after that, we will also be moving down from those two lobbies into a single lobby. Once we hit that point, it is incredibly important that everybody knows and remembers your points don't matter anymore. Once we hit those last 8 players, that's the game. First place is first place. So while we are sitting here saying lettuce soup and we have the double dose of ingredients, if he can't continue that through that very last game, unfortunately, you could have all of the points and everybody else has zero at last match. That is the only one that ultimately matters. It is the culminating point of this charity event. So make sure that you keep something in your back pocket. I hope it's not the rise that we just spewed out and talked about and is now in the wind for everybody to consider. But I hope you have something reliable, consistent, and strong to make sure that you're able to close that game out for yourself, whomever you may be.
I also hope you don't have soup in your back pocket either, because while it's a good
Yeah,
strategy for TFT, like, I don't know, it just feels like there's a lot of room for that to get incredibly messy, unless you're trying to go for something that's a little more gelatinized, but
it could
even
be
then,
canned.
right? Like,
Canned
could be
soup for my
canned,
family.
could be canned, yeah.
Canned soup for your
Hmm.
family. Sounds
You know what?
fantastic.
Yeah, I think that is lovely. Another thing to keep in contact for, again, whether you support Being America, whether you support a local food pantry, another thing to look out for. I know at my grocery store they have a cart open for folks to donate as they leave as well. So all these little opportunities to help your neighbor are around you, be it either here with us today, that's awesome, or with other folks in your community as time goes on. It's all great when we all help each other. Beyond that, though, we are getting ready to go into our next game, and I'm starting to think about some of these other things that we got to talk about, which is again, Void. Haven't seen it here, there, anywhere, largely absent from a lot of these boards. I want to see a Baron Nashor.
Yes, thank you. Absolutely love Nasher. She's amazing. Shelly, she's amazing. Kaiza, she's amazing. Void has such cool units, and I really want to see them because I love their gameplay. But as you keep mentioning, if the mutations aren't there, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, again, a lot of these little considerations. I feel like there are some lines that you can kind of play independent of what the mutations are, what the unlocks are. We haven't even really talked about Ionia at all today, just because that's been another
Yeah.
vertical that folks have been avoiding, but also it's been a trickier vertical to sort of wrap your head around this time around, just because it is our Mirage vertical of this set. Effectively something that changes its effect every single game with a focus on stacking stats. And hey,
Oh,
what do you know?
hello.
There's Baron Nashor right there.
Well, isn't that nice of her to show up? The last two surviving players gain 70 gold for an epic fight. If that doesn't suit tournaments, I don't know what does.
And let me tell you, if we didn't already see a free star 5 cost, I'd definitely be looking for another one as we look out on Paris, another one of these fantastic board skins that have come out here in this set. Who is going to be the first focus here? And with that Viego, I feel like this is where we sort of go into some of this TFT learning side of this set. So I will say to you, did you know there are exactly 3 1-cost units that can solo between 1-2, 1-3, and 1-4? You don't need to put in anything else. Viego is one of them. Do you want to hazard a guess of what the other two are?
For my own mental safety, I've got the math going for me at this point. I'm going to say no and let you, a literal professor, continue.
Okay, that works out for me. It is going to be the Briar and the Kiana, both of which have those hops that we were talking about before, helping to keep them alive. That said, you do need to put them in a rather specific slot, A2, which is that first row, second column, for folks who aren't familiar with the TFT naming conventions that kind of come in here, but definitely gives you a choice as this all kind of comes on through, as this combination here is going to be giving Ku a chance to go for Ionia.
Yeah, which amazingly you had just spoken about, we hadn't seen a whole lot of because it is strictly vertical. Now, this is a relatively good position to find yourself in to start that vertical, getting this 3 Ionia nice and early. The items aren't too bad to go with it either so far. The Jin itemization is going to be a little important, but the Yasuo obviously standing there as well. So we'll see what happens now that we're done this PBE rounds. What are we going to be looking at for Ku for those augments? Will they be what is required to continue with Ionia?
A lot of gold here, so we could see a few different options. I think the thing that will really make this choice for Ionia a little bit easier is if we
Darkin.
investigate it earlier. Oh yeah, Darkin is insane. You want to cover that, because like that is another
No,
region we haven't really talked about too much just yet.
Darkin isn't talked about for a reason. We don't talk about Darkin. We'll wait. If he chooses to go for it, and it is a gamble in their current position to go for it, then we can talk about it. But come on, it's Chair. Do it. Do it. Who?
I'll say savings account, I could say looks safer. Warlord's Honor, if you want to go for a reroll, is nice, but Unsealed from Steel gives you quite a few options here into that late game. Nope, it's got to be
Ah.
savings account.
Okay, so
Hey,
we're
listen,
not going to talk about Darkkin weapons. We're going to move on and take a look at what everybody else has. Player number 2 on the lobby. Talk about their name.
well, let's talk about how Unsealed
Oh,
from Steel has actually been picked up
Bruh.
by D over here. So that is going to be excellent to see. That means that they've been able to pick up a Darken weapon here. These Darken weapons are artifacts here a la Ornn, and they're going to be granting their holders access to the Darken trait. That means that we actually have Darken activated already on the right side of the screen, and the only way to get that is either to play these emblems or to unlock the two natural Darkin units, being either Aatrox or the newcomer to TFT.
Now, we have talked about Aatrox before. We
Yes,
know
we
that
have.
it is a strong unit, and we know how to unlock it, right? Going ahead and getting yourself up to that 40%. I was going to say lifesteal, but it's Omnivamp that you are looking for because this is not regular League of Legends. This is TFT. So Omnivamp is the only thing that exists in this. And again, we know that Aatrox is incredibly strong. But why don't you, since you know so much,
Okay, okay, you're
give us a walkthrough of the quote unquote newcomer.
Yes, that would be Zaheen. So Zaheen is the newest champion that is entering into League of Legends, but is a little bit more difficult to unlock because not only is he behind an augment, he is actually behind a 3-star unit as well. In order to actually unlock Zaheen, you need to both have a hero unit for Jinzhao as well as that 3-star of that unit as well. So very difficult to get. You'd be much sooner and much likelier to hit it off of getting a few more darkened artifacts off of something like an Ornn, but certainly not something that's impossible, and something we should probably keep an eye out for any of these gold augment games, see if he pops up.
Yeah, it would be incredible to be able to see them, but at this point, we haven't even seen an Aatrox make an appearance now that I think about it. So there's lots of options still out there in terms of things to see. But if you have the Darkkin as your very first augment, you have to suspect they're going to chase that at least a little bit. That being said, as you can see on board for Molder right now, there is already that Xinjiao to start. So a little bit of competition going on there if they do decide to chase it, because as you said, has to be put on the board, etc., etc. So interesting to see if that continues onwards. But this is an Ionia player going here, which we also saw happening in our top player as well. So as we move down, we find ourselves with a early failure board going on with the Ornn artifacts being selected for the option there, and quite an interesting one to put on an Anivia.
Yeah, Flicker Blades isn't really the first thing I think of on Anivia to say the least, but at the end of the day, you're still slamming an item power, and attack speed is mana generation, something Anivia does care about well and truly. So at the end of the day, as long as you're actually getting power out of the item, even if it's not on the unit you'd really like it to be on, I think you're going to be okay. The only thing I want to keep an eye out for is if that moves over to the Ash, and we also throw that glove on to try to get that early Tryndamere and start getting a couple of stacks here, there, everywhere. And it seems like on this carousel round, things are looking like it is going through a pretty standard stage 2 so far. A few folks, particularly who are now down at 83 HP, that's a little bit of an outlier, but everyone else here at the carousel is really in the 90s. Enki sitting here at the very top, overlooking all at 100 still.
Yeah, Ku looking towards that lost streak as we keep talking about, looking for that econ in that pathway. Meanwhile, Enki, of course, looking for it in the opposite direction as, hey, would you look at that? This is Darkkin. And almost, we are so very close to a splash of Void coming in here as well with the Cho'Gath on board there. I think one of the things you mentioned, dropping that crit glove on the Ash to try and unlock the Tryndamere. Those are the little things about the unlocks that I love, is it forces you to make these item decisions early, right? Yes, you have a ton of flexibility because some champions just naturally unlock as you do different things. You had mentioned earlier on creating a belt item and just being able to unlock Bear down that path as is. However, you do have to make some active decisions like putting the crit glove on there in order to unlock that Tryndamere earlier than you may happen to just do it out of happenstance.
And it's also another one of these things that I love about TFT and just game design in general, where you eventually hit some of these design choices that are designed to teach players how to play the game better. And one of the most important things you can do as a new player to TFT is start slamming items, not leave them on your bench and try to go for perfect. You don't let perfect be the enemy good, and you slam as quickly as you can. Through all of that together, you're able to get a little bit pointier, you're able to make stronger directional plays earlier on, and you're able to preserve HP. So all of these unlocks, you already called it the Ash. Twisted Fate for Graves is another example. Scion for LeBlanc is another one as well. All of these things are helping you become better TFT players.
Never let perfection stand in the way of success.
That's a good call.
Something that so I myself am AUDHD, and perfectionism is something I struggled with significantly when I was younger, and that quote got me through a significant amount of tests and quizzes and exams, understanding that I do not have to get every question right, and I do not even have to get the question right. I just need to get enough of it correct in order to succeed at what I was doing. Got me through a significant amount. I highly recommend remembering it and acting towards it as you go on in your lives. Speaking of, last time we saw Piltover on the board, we were talking about the net and the strengths that come with it. This time around, walk us through what we have going on next to the Kalen.
Right, so this is going to be the Piltover gate, the hex gate that's going to be coming in here. And usually there's a theme with each of the levels of Piltover here. For this initial one, these are usually team-wide buffs or team-wide attacks. So this one you see right here is a little bit of damage. Nothing too crazy, just a little bit of damage that triggers after 8 seconds and hits the entire enemy team. So that is quite a bit to really get things rolling. But again, it's not really the thing that all these players are really looking for here at the end of the day, right? A lot of people that want Piltover for the splash are trying to find it for the utility. The net is fantastic because it's able to hunt down enemy units that are dealing the most damage. The EMP is great because it just delays the scope of a fight quite a bit overall. So really, it does work out pretty nicely here. We'll have to see if other players want to opt into Piltover, find those lines as well. Enki, by the way, looks like they're trying to find a couple of options for Void.
Ooh, let's take a look at that augment one more time. That is the late game scaling augment. Your 5-cost champions gain 16% health and attack speed. Keep that in mind when we get Void rolling, because they have some 5-cost champions that you need to be scared of.
Furthermore, too, Void is all about trying to unlock Baron Nashor, and Baron Nashor requires you to hit level 10. So any augment or anything you can click that helps you advance to 10 as quickly as possible is going to be immensely powerful in terms of your chances of actually winning this game, getting things to come on through. And also, just this early Bell of F is incredible. Does go down as I call it out, so, you know, too little too late. But we also have quite a few little Voidlings here from the Malzahar to play cleanup crew on this board.
Once upon a time, to tell a story.
Okay. Ready?
There was a unit named Malzahar in the main game of League of Legends, whose W spawned Voidlings. Now, all of that is still incredibly familiar, and as everybody knows, what has changed from sets gone by and current is that those Voidlings' attack speed used to stack with Malzahar's. So what you used to do with Malzahar is build a little bit of AP and a whole lot of attack speed, and you would summon 5 Voidlings at the press of your W and take down a tower in about 3 seconds. All this Malzahar ever reminds me of when I watch TFT is those what I would refer to as the good old days, because I am that old. I have been playing since beta, and the chaos that Voidlings can sow, simply because they are not something you find yourself thinking about. They are these little units that aren't active. They are not the creatures that you identify as, I must kill these for they are a threat. So Malzahar in this instance does something very similar in that, where yes, you have the DOT that is applied, but the constant damage that is also coming from those little Voidlings is something that I just adore. And my goodness, are they ever cute.
And I was going to say, I have a bedtime story too. Once upon a time, everything started burning, and that's because we already have an Annie on this free 2 board. And let me tell you, Annie is one of these terrifying units that can kind of come in here, and that's purely off of luxury subscription, which, for those of you who haven't seen it before, hovered on our screen right now, gives you a package of a 5-cost and a 2-star 1-cost every single start of a stage. And I will note, it is the same 5-cost. It is the same 2-star 1-cost. So at the end of those 3 stages, you will have a 2-star 5-cost and a 3-star 1-cost. If that lines up perfectly with synergies, you're gonna be pretty golden. Beyond that, though, just having the Annie this early is incredible. Annie gives you free burn, which already maybe hurts a little bit because you've already slammed that Sunfire Cape. Hey, Reforgers exist for a reason. But on top of that, too, it's more AP damage that you can really work with for those reasons we were talking about before, right? Annie is able to spawn Tibbers as its own unit, as its own Arcanist, that allows you to actually play full AP boards without that full AP squishiness.
Yeah, and if you take a look at what's going on right now, that Flicker Blade has been moved over to the Annie because, like you were saying, attack speed is mana gen. And the mana gen is incredibly important on Annie, particularly when you compare it to an Anivia. You want it on that 5 cost. So, going to be something to pay attention to as that Annie rises towards the status of the 2-star. We do have a single frying pan on the board at this moment, and everybody in the lower tiers does not want to go for it, which means somebody in the upper echelon of this lobby will have the option to make a pivot should they so choose. And it is
Oh,
no, nobody,
that is
nobody.
very interesting. I was personally going to see if, say, some folks would look to try to pick it up because, again, being able to splash in an extra Arcanist here or there, for example, to give your team bonus AP, or being able to splash in Defender to give your team bonus armor and magic resist, that is very effective. However, as you said, folks are instead looking to prioritize final items here, final points here and there. They're able to really move their team in a certain direction before they start spreading out. Whether or not that's a good idea, we'll have to see and experiment as we kind of go on. But for now, these players seem pretty happy with where they are so far. Another thing, actually, I do want to make sure we call out quickly. Can we actually hover over what Ionia is this fight? Because, like I was talking about earlier, it changes every single match. However, it is going to keep this
Ooh.
consistent theme of stacking adaptive damage. And for this one, it's going to be stacking on cast. So this means it's going to benefit Ionian units to go a little bit deeper, so maybe you want to stay in the tree. And also, too, it benefits units like Ari who have innate ways of getting out of trouble and are able to cast more and more and more. So an important thing to call out here for Mortal, and we'll keep an eye on that as we go. We should also probably mention Warpath before we go. What do you say?
If you have to.
I think it's probably a good idea. Warpath, if you've been playing TFT for a while, you know it, you love it, you probably hate it. It sounds
You
so
hate it.
simple on paper. You hate it. It sounds so simple on paper. Just get 80 points of damage in, 60 points of damage in, excuse me, and you get a big cash out. It's great. Holy crap, it is so hard to get that much damage out as you go through any game of TFT in ways that you really don't think or expect. So, is another thing we have to watch out for here. We'll have to see just how far away Mortal is on that for now, but let's take a look at what Mabry is up to
I
here.
believe
And that is
you
just...
were correct in your first statement, by the way. It's 80
Oh, it
points
is
of
80.
damage.
Okay, cool.
Oh,
Because
yes.
I thought I made it too hard just saying that it was 80. Like, surely
Right?
it's not as bad as I feel like it is. But no, it is that bad. It is hard
It
to
is.
accomplish.
Now, that being said, it's that bad in its difficulty to accomplish. It is not bad as an augment. If you are able to accomplish that, you're getting both champions and items out of it, and high cost of both. So it is what one would very easily define as a high risk, high reward decision to be able to take that. I personally would never select it, but I have lost many games to it.
Hey, I mean, I get it too. It all depends on how you want to spend things, how you want to work on through, and also if you'd rather like the guaranteed option or that little bit of risk, that little bit of spice that we kind of like talking about moving on through. For here though, again, Mabry's looking pretty solid so far. I like getting the 3 rerolls here. Seems like they're actually starting to bank onto them a tiny bit round after round. Probably want to try to push
Ooh.
to 8 to see if they can get a couple more chances and odds here for the Belveth. But for now, things are looking pretty chill.
Yeah, good itemization on the Belveth as well. Again, we were talking about, don't let perfect stand in the way. Well, Belveth, you want the attack speed, you want the damage, and that is incredibly what we have seen stacked on them at this point in time. Fiddlesticks just rolled into as well, so going to be swapping out the Targon for that. Understandable decision for certain. That is a very, very early 5 cost, by the way, at 1% odds of being able to find that for Mabry on this board at this point in time. Difference maker, I don't know, but being able to keep the Belveth safe is the important part. And as you've mentioned before, Fiddlesticks is certainly able to provide a little bit of support in that.
I'm sorry, I have to talk about something really quickly. We had a reroll of that artifact here, and it's now a blighting jewel. Let's
Oh,
talk about this really quickly. This is going to get insane
Oh my
very,
god.
very quickly. Dealing magic resistance damage reduces resistances. I don't know if the AoE counts because I
it
believe
has to.
burns aren't coded to usually, but I don't think this is
Ooh.
just a burn. I think this is proper damage that includes a burn. So
Once we're
terrifying
able
thing to
to,
contend with.
Once we are able to, we will have to hover Annie and take a look at the ability description because
Yeah.
it will have to say that her burn does, there it is, magic damage.
Dealing, yeah, no, that
So the
counts.
fact that it is magic damage means that it does count. Most burn in TFT and is true damage. That is the difference maker here. Because that is listed as magic damage, if you hover over Blighting Crystal, it will tell you it is not dealing ability damage. Dealing magic damage reduces the target's magic resist by 2, which means once that activates, and it takes a while to activate, it's 170 mana for that cast, remember that. But once that activates, that is the difference maker, or could very well be the difference maker in terms of magic damage, because that is going to bring all of your magic resists down to 0 very fast.
It also effectively gives a small child a machine gun because she's going to be casting nigh instantly over and over again. So it's the thing that all children, I believe, are asking for on their Christmas list this year. But independent of that as well, this goes back into another reason why this full Arcanist line is incredibly strong because you are able to put Magic Shred of any stripe on your Annie, and from there be able to buff up so many of your other units infinitely more. So, all in all, this is already beginning to look absolutely horrifying to see, but we have to look at what's happening all over the lobby. While 88 and 77 are fun to see at the top of the leaderboard, some nice numeric alliteration there. Going down to the very bottom, D at the very bottom here is only at 10 HP and a dream, so things are starting to really get spread apart.
Yeah, it is certainly a struggle being at the bottom of the leaderboard in this specific lobby right now because, as we have said multiple times, only the strongest will survive after this game number 3. So hopefully some strong turnouts for them prior if they're going to be able to continue onwards, but it is doubtful as, oh my, Chowdots just got chowed on by the Kiwi cat in that fight right there. Ewick has some kind of strength behind their board because we were saying that Annie, basically a machine gun. I mean, that was coughing child nuclear bomb moment.
I mean, at the same time, it takes a while for the machine gun to come online, but the thing that I really talk about here is confidence coming in for you, because they actually picked up malicious monetization as their final augment. Something that is another one of those famously, I'm either going to do really well with this, or I'm going to lose all of my fights after clicking it and not make any money whatsoever. Ewick, with that win, is able to get quite a bit of extra power at their disposal here. A lot more econ should help them refresh, should let them push it into more levels, more something to really get the econ going. And it seems like the Seraphine 2 is going to be the start of that. For now, though, let's see what else comes in. And
What?
Swain and Mbessa, solid options, solid choices.
Sell for both, right? This is one of those
I think so.
situations where you surely must, like, getting 2 stars, two-star 4 costs in the same store roll. You sell for them. Now, keep in mind, Rift Herald also sitting in there. Shelly is available. There is only a single little splash of void here, though, in the 2 units. Certainly not something Ewick is looking to be focusing into, but that Malzahar is incredibly strong, and as you get Arcanists on board, as you mentioned, continues to be stronger as you have the option of splashing in some magic, magic resist, debuffs. I forgot what I'm looking for. Magic Shred, rather, is the term that they use in order to help that Malzahar out. But help that Malzahar does not seem to need, as this board is stomping.
I was going to say for a second, well, maybe you don't have to play Arcanist here, but I mean, excuse me, maybe you don't need to play the Nico here, but that's granting you Arcanist as well as your Kog'Maw that you have, so it becomes a little more interesting, a little more difficult. D, by the way, is going to be our Void player, has been trying to come through here as we've been talking about, and it seems like they've also gone for the AD variant of the Kaisas, which, quick note, Kaisa, 2 different abilities depending on whether you built her adaptively AD, adaptively AP. This time around, seems like we've gone full AD, full level up. Heck, we even have the Aatrox for our troubles in the front line, something we'll have to really watch out for.
Yeah, that Aatrox could very, very well be a difference maker in this. I'm very glad that she has decided to chase this line down with the Darkkin, go into the whole void all the way through here. You can see just how strong that Kai'Sa can be with the missiles coming off. But again, this is the Annie that they are going up against that we have spoken up over and over about the damaging shred that comes out of her from this blighting jewel. But it doesn't ultimately matter. There is a very solid amount of sustain on this board for Kendra. Good for her with the setup, able to continue knocking Chowdots down, because I'm pretty sure if that Annie 2 comes through, it is going to be devastating for this lobby.
Yeah, this is going to be weird to see here at the end of the
Definitely.
day, but still plenty of room to work on through, make these choices, make these decisions. Mortal, though, is running out of runway here. 7 HP remaining, has had a bit of a loss streak coming on through. I think they have started to find a few options here. I think, oh my goodness, I came in studying all these new units for League of Legends to make sure I wasn't going to go absolutely crazy. Yunara is
Yunara.
becoming online here, like does have a lot of power here. Just need to find that two-star to really sell it here at the end of the day. But I don't know. This is looking to be incredibly narrow. It seems like this has been a deeper Ionian reroll and haven't quite been able to find too much here at the end of the day.
Yeah, spending all of the gold, you can see it going down, 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 really hoping to find that Yunara, but you're looking at a 10% odds right now, and it is not in their favor. They also have an IE sitting on bench on that Jin that is completely unused at the moment, and two
Too
unslammed
late.
items as well. This is certainly not where you want to find yourself sitting. Going into this fight against Abri right here, Mortal, this could be the all or nothing for you. You really have to hope that your one-star Yunara can pop right off. That Kennen did its best to get back for the assassination, wasn't able to get it through in the end, but it looks like this Freljord board is simply going to be too much. That AD Kai'Sa in the back line as well, cleaning up. That will be our first elimination, and I will go ahead and give you the honor of calling you your full name of Dilf Glizzy, gone from this lobby.
Actually, it's mortal.
Oh my god.
You
We
you
were looking
jumped
at
the
the
gun a
wrong
little
person.
bit. You
I am
you jumped the
so
gun a little bit
sorry.
going for the Delph Grizzly. But here
Yeah,
though, they've managed to stick
it was
on
the
just that
Kai'Sa.
tiny little bit longer. The Kaisa was able to move on through, keep things going here for the win. So, bit of a breath. Still got a tiny bit more time to figure things through, see where things happen. And I gotta say, they have managed to build themselves a very strong board here. They have managed to find a bunch of different options. And now that I see an Aatrox that is fully stacked out with additional Omnivamp, with additional stats here, I think this can get ridiculous, even with a Swain running rampant. Excuse me, a Singed running rampant.
Yeah, that Singed is quite itemed up as well. We did call out the sustain being incredibly strong on this Void board previously, and I mean, that Singed is responsible for
Jesus.
that not being very important anymore. Listen, I gave you the glory the first time by mistake. This time, I'm going to call you Kendra. She's dead, and that is the end of it all for you. My apologies, but Ku is responsible for your elimination.
Yeah, very terrifying to see this Singe. This is truly lore accurate Singe here
Mm.
at this point. You have all the shred, you have all the burn, you have the BT just to keep healing yourself and laughing as you do. All of this does seem to work out pretty nicely in Ku's favor, and that's before we even talk about some of the other supporting units that are on this board. The Tarek is granting additional magic resistance. The Fiddlesticks is granting you additional magic shred as well, not to mention the fact that you're either getting damage amp or resistance from Senna and the Lucian, as we've talked about many a time so far through these fights. So all of this really is coming up and working nicely to keep this Singed alive. And I feel like another thing we should really call out here is that part of the reason why the Singe comp became so prevalent is because it was folks trying to counteract this 6 Arcanist board. They wanted to get something that was able to get damage onto the Annie as quickly as possible. And it seems like that's what they were able to find here as, I don't know, this bear is quick,
Uh,
but these feet seem to be faster. Nope,
nope.
too slow.
Yeah, again, you mentioned the the increased attack speed of Tivers as the burn continues. It was just fast enough to manage to take out the Singe. The Singe did get back there, did do some damage to the Annie, but ultimately it was not enough to kill her until the very last second. The difference I would say that we saw from that board, Chowdots has actually moved that crystal onto a fiddlestick. So it's no longer on the Annie. That shred is no longer coming in from the burn, but it should be coming onto the board a little earlier, and that could have been the difference maker. Because as you mentioned, there is that additional magic resist for the Singed from the Targon buff itself, and the shred was incredibly important. That is 4 Garens.
Yeah, let me tell you, the fourth Garen was actually covered by my microphone, so I couldn't quite see it initially, but I was impressed before we even got there. That is insane to see. But I also need to call out something else. Can we quickly move over to Enki's board, please? Because they just picked up a Void Emblem, and that means that your
Oh,
Baron Nashor is live, and
hey girl,
two-starred as
hey.
well, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, she is. And that is a fully defensive Shelly as well, by the way. Malzahar, let's take a quick look at his items for everybody at home because that's terrifying.
Oh, jeez, I didn't
Cast,
even notice.
cast, 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 cast. That's 5 casts, 6 casts, 7 casts. I mean, this is the
The
Malzahar
Swarm!
dream.
Oh, that is insane. Dawncore is able to enable so much terrifying damage here at the end of the day. That's gotta have moved that cast mana cost all the way down to 10, honestly, at the end of this fight. I think if I want to be pedantic, I could say, well, this is really strong. However, Baron Nashor should actually be in the back row, so that way she rushes up and gets a free knockup. But at the same time, he won kind of without that optimization. I feel like that is me being entirely too pedantic, and I shall withdraw before I get too crazy. That said, though, we do have our top 4 here. Iwik, Enki, Ku, as well as Chowdots, who has managed to stay alive even if the HP is ticking down.
It is a resource, we'll call it one more time. I mean, you use it to stay alive. It has gotten them this far. Can it get them farther than the top 4? That's what we're kind of here to find out as the swarm once again is activated and
Silly.
terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. But the Singed is here. If the Singed could get back, oh, got knocked up by the Belveth. Well played right there for the turnaround. Now it is all about survival. I mean, yeah.
That is
That's a
Singed.
big lizard.
The big lizard. It is the problem with Singed here at the end of the day. If you do not have any kind of CC immunity, he will be stopped. You can have a knockup from Cho'Gath here. You can have a Tendril from Baron come on in and do something crazy. And of course, you obviously have Swain, our premier 4-cost stun that we have in this set. All these things work together to truly ruin Singed good time.
I don't want to move off of this board.
I
I
don't either.
love Void. Absolutely love Void. It is the matriarchal system that we have and deserve in TFT because all of the best units in this, I guess Malzahar aside, are female. And it should stay that way. And we have another Baron on board, on bench rather, at this point in time. I don't think we have enough gold for Enki to go for a 3-star, but that would be amazing.
Hey, I mean, like, it is also harder for a Baron Nashor to be free start as well, just because whenever you are the only person who has unlocked a certain unit, after you unlock the 2-star, it becomes increasingly more difficult to actually hit those remaining units, just because otherwise you can go for an uncontested line and have no one be able to prevent you from hitting that 3-star 5 cost, or in this case, 3-star 7 cost, excuse me. So it is a little bit hard to do so. It is not impossible to do so, though, so we will see if they're able to get the economy to look for those rolls. Obviously, they don't need to level anymore. They've already hit 10.
Look at
They're at
them
the
all.
top of Mount Targon here, all things considered, but that is going to be another convincing win against Iwik, who has the HP to spare. Chowdots, however, does not. They're going to have to watch a cutscene, and they'll go down to a crazy blast from that Lux.
I counted 29 Voidlings, by the way.
You're very good at counting.
It was not easy. I could
No.
be wrong. but I'm pretty sure I saw 29 dancing voidlings, which is certainly not part of our 12 Days of Christmas song. It's a little longer than that, but it's close considering what the date is. We're a little closer to 29 days away. We're not at 29 days away, but it's closer than 12 days away
It
for
also is still the
certain.
29th here on the continental North America. So, hey, you know what? I think the 29 dancing voidlings can work out. We also tried to move away from we tried to move away from Enki, move away from this void, but nope, they're following us here over to Ku's board here. So everything that they do is going to be tracked here. We get another chance to count the voidlings, but let me tell you, this fight is looking a tiny bit closer because of all this extra damage and all this extra resist that comes out from the Lucian and Senna. Baron may be alone, but we've seen her go out of
Oh no.
crazy fights before,
Oh
and it seems
no.
like it's going to be more than enough to take down Ku.
That was a munchy, crunchy, bunchy Baron right there. And I'll tell you what, this may be the protein of our soup in the end of it all. It is going to
Oh, I
be
forgot about this.
70 gold
Oh,
per
no.
person. And we have the possibility now, if they're going to hit this, it will be now.
Wait, move to, I don't even know who we want to watch, Enki or
Please go to Enki.
Ewick. Yeah,
Please
we
go to
have to see
Enki.
how this is going to go.
Please.
They're rolling so much. They're hitting quite a bit. They're trying to find any 5 costs possible. There's
Go on,
already
three
another
more.
Baron too. Oh my goodness.
Two more.
I don't think they have the time.
No, I
It
don't.
is only stage 6. This won't be a kill.
Shouldn't be. It'd have to be one heck of a
Oh
win.
wait.
There's one more. Please.
Okay. We have time. No one's going to
Calm,
die this
composed,
fight.
professional.
Yeah.
Wait, is he gonna lose? Enix's gonna lose this. Enki's gonna lose this.
No, Baron's got this. What are you doing doubting my girl?
Okay, yeah, no, you're right. Oh god, all the voidlings. Look at them all.
Oh my goodness.
Somebody play Crab Rave right now.
Okay, we get to the carousel.
There will not be a
This is
Baron
it.
on carousel.
No Baron, no unlocks on the
possible.
carousel. Whew. I don't think my heart can take this. Can your heart
This would
take
be
this?
the-
My heart can't take this. We'll have to see. Here comes the roll. 20 gold
24
for it.
gold. Come on. Come on.
I believe.
Come on, show me it. No, one more. This one. No, we have
I'm
been
not going to
denied.
advocate for selling board, but maybe
Let's
a
sell
little
board.
bit sell board. You know what I mean?
You could sell a little bit of board.
A little bit of board. You know,
It's a little bit of board.
treat.
It's for charity.
Yeah, charity.
Right?
Just sell
For
board
charity.
for charity.
Charity. Sell board for charity.
I
Charity
don't think
charity
selling
wants
board
to.
for charity.
No, that's totally, and you know what? I totally respect it. As
Valid,
we have
yeah.
said multiple times, this is the situation where you end up falling if you do not do incredibly well. Ewick with the thumbs up on the start of the fight. This is just devastating to try walking into. That is the 2-star Mel. It is the 2-star Senolution on the backline, and it is the 2-star Azir as well. I mean, they had come very close to winning in every previous round. The 70 gold spend is going to push them across that threshold. Now we have one last chance with basically no gold in hand.
Again, I feel like it has to be a board sell, but I understand the lack of comfort there for Enki. It's so much to have to do in order to get it, and you need, the only difference now though is that you need a big swing, right? Like, you know that these fights are close. You know you need a difference maker here. And if you feel like it's going to be a second either way, you might as well go for the huge swing. They hit it! Look on the other side of the screen. They hit it. That's the Baron free. They sold the board and found it.
Enki, you're the hero of the day. Regardless, I adore you. Look
here
at
comes
the
the crabs.
Shellies. Now play me
it's
some
too
Crab
quick.
Rave.
Back to the Prismatic Poro Cup 2. And now we've seen 32 go down to 16. Folks, things are starting to really get turned on here. And let me tell you, Oshi, what's going on? Who's left even in the action?
Well, first off, left is actually behind, and that's Baron Nashor. I had to go ahead and change my background after that phenomenal performance that we saw come through, courtesy of currently our number 2, Enki VT. But our top 16 that we're looking at, top to bottom, from points that are moving on into our 2 lobbies that we are at right now, the second of which we will be spectating. We have Crispy Lettuce, we have Enki, we have Cerdo, we have Bean, Radish, Fitzboy, Mabry, not Marby, Mabry. I'm going to do that all the time. Ayaya, Chatitz, Soul Ninja, Happy Coup, Kano, Koi Boy, Uick, Jero, and rounding us out because of a self DQ, we actually have Gangstalicious being the one making it into the top. They did actually finish in 17th place, but again, our previous 16th place finalists had to self DQ because they simply did not have the time to continue in the event, and that is totally acceptable. You can do that whenever you so choose. So Gangstalicious reaping the benefits with the hashtag fruit, by the way, at the end of their name. So add that to our soup. Let's go with tomato.
Hey, you know what? I'll take it. We'll find a nice tomato base. We'll figure out how to sneak in those Baron Nashor in there. Very difficult meat to kind of get. First of all, you need like 5 people to take it down. It's really ridiculous.
Super
Beyond
tough.
that kind of too, but super tender, you're right. Beyond that too, we do have to look at what's coming up next. So we are going to be going here into lobby B. That is going to be one half of our fridge combo. Radish is sticking in here. Crispy lettuce is going to be in lobby A. We'll keep an eye out to see how well they've been able to stick around following this game. But I gotta say, we're still talking about the things that we're looking for, right? The things that we're still trying to feel out and find. Still no rise. That's fine. All a thing to consider. There is one more region, though, that we haven't talked about yet, and that is Shurima, which is even harder to truly properly pilot here at the end of the day. Because Shurima, if you don't know, is very similar to another trait, the Shadow Isles, where you only have access to one unit, being a Seer. However, everything after that is all based on how you're able to control your streak.
Yeah, and it's unlocking those other Shurima units that is kind of the I don't want to call it the ace because it's not an ace in the hole, right? If you're
Mhm.
not able to get the remaining Shurima units, you're in trouble. Zareth is the prime one that we are looking at when it comes down to it. If you can manage to get a Zareth on your board, build him better than you build an Annie, and he will take care of you the same way that a Baron will. But getting there is not that easy. What is your step one?
For me, I personally look for the Zera first. It is so hard to waffle and guarantee that kind of win-loss streak over and over again, but we also have to be precise about it because you also still need to preserve the HP to go for a full last streak for the Nasus as well. Remember, every time you unlock a Shuriman, the requirements to unlock the next increase. You'll need to do 3 losses in a row, 3 wins in a row, 3 waffles in a row for the first one. That moves up to 5. That moves up to I think 7 or something
Three, four,
ridiculous for
six.
that final. 3, 5, 3, 4, 6. Thank you. It's still ridiculous either which way, and it becomes very hard to do. Granted, you get all 4, you get a pretty nice prismatic to cap it all off. We'll save that for later when we'll see if anyone ascends to godhood here today.
Oh,
But for
come
now,
on.
the folks who have already ascended to
No,
godhood have wait.
no. Have we done it
Glasses, I don't
again?
need you right now.
Have we done it again? Have we
We're not
spoken now?
allowed. We can't keep
We
getting
have
away with this. This is wrong.
summoned. Last game we summoned the Baron. This game, could we have summoned Rise? They appear at the beginning. Will they appear at the end, though?
Listen, I'm saying this just in case I'm clipped for a montage. We cannot allow this to happen again. We cannot see a Rise 3. I will go absolutely insane here at the end of the day. I will note other things could be opened up here as we scout around, see what folks have been hit. This could enable us to get some high-powered
Oh my
verticals.
god,
Say,
look at
for
these.
example, that Piltover emblem is very important, not just as a splash, but as a way to bypass some of the natural barriers that get in the way of you hitting Piltover here at the end of the day. Remember that T-Hex that I was talking
Yes,
about? That
sir.
only checks your star levels. If you put a Piltover emblem on a 2-star unit, that counts for unlocking the T-Hex. That's all you need here at the end of the day, and you can make it work.
Let's just take a look at everything else. There's a Zon here as well. We have a Disruptor and a Gunslinger. Gunslinger we haven't spoken about at all, but let's bypass that. Take a look at what everybody else has going on because, again, every one of these players, 3 emblems. We have a Bilgewater put down, a Juggernaut, as well as the Defender emblem. We have talked about the importance of front lines. I mean, Koi Boy has it built in for him off rip, hopping down to Fitzboy. Let's take a quick look. We've got us a Noxus, we've got a Quick Striker, and
Oh,
we have
Draven started
another
it.
Piltover. Okay, Quick Striker and Piltover. The combinations could possibly go wild. Soul Ninja, what do you have for us that's running through? Freljord, things we love to see. Bilgewater again in hand, and it looks like in play by the board that is going down with those two Alawi. They're going to be looking for them. The augments are going to interrupt us, though, as, I mean, yeah, you have the Bilgewater emblem, but okay, instantly rolled the Yordle augment. Oh, that makes me sad, but I understand it because you have Epoch here. Now, in between, we did have our good friend Pan, who is currently in chat as one of Ohgawdkate's fantastic moderators, join us for a quick little conversation, and he brought up the strength of Epoch. So, what do you think we're going to see coming through with the Freljord, Bilgewater, and Epoch, let alone the Defender?
Listen, you're throwing so many permutations at me. I may sound like I know a lot about this game, and to be fair, I think I do. But you're asking me to calculate a lot of stuff on the fly.
Do math.
I would say for all those things together, there's a bunch of different ways that you can play it, and it depends. Everyone's favorite pedantic answer here at the end of the day. All those free rerolls, for example, count for unlocking Bard. That means you could try to go for some kind of crazy early reroll. We could look around, see if anyone was able to find additional emblems. Say, for example, that's what Radish was able to do with that Earth picked up here for their augment. Heck, we haven't even considered the fact that someone could get Pandora's items, and then all of a sudden we're going into Crazyland territory
Oh my
where you're
God.
able to get full prismatic traits up.
You know what? Pandora's items is a fantastic shout, and goodness, if that happens, I don't feel like I am confident enough to speak on what somebody may end up cooking rather. Like I have listen, I spent 7 years as a chef, but definitely not in the Michelin star types of kitchens that somebody would be operating within if they managed to pick that up. So let's continue flipping through everybody. As you can see, Gangstalicious has some emblems going on here. We already said that we knew there was a pickup of the spatula going on as well. So we hop into Hewitt here as we see Bruisers and Juggernauts. That is a filthy front line, by the way. And do I spy with my little eye an Arcanist Scion?
Let me tell you, Arcanist, Scion's been known to dabble a little bit in the dark arts. You know what I mean? Came to life, killed a king,
Yeah,
as you do.
came to life. Came to life,
Casually. Yeah. So it does work out. If you actually look over the Scion, I think the only thing that bonus AP is going to be netting him is a deeper shield, which granted, don't get me wrong, fantastic for Scion, but we'll have to see exactly which way that lines up as we keep on keeping on here. I gotta say though, that one board we're looking at does truly look like that sort of Draven starter kit. Another unit that we haven't seen too much of here at the end of the day. And oh my goodness, let's keep on going here. We already have a Bard with too much value, which is another heavy reroll thing. We're also seeing a lot of these Ishtal units being thrown in here as well. So this could be the beginnings of Ishtal reroll, something that we haven't talked about too much today, but is actually a pretty decent shout here because it can help guarantee unlocking the Nidalee.
Yeah, and that's a huge step forward in terms of anything. I mean, you need that Nidalee if you're going to be looking into the Ishtal. If you want to do it as a true vertical line. For the time being, splashes of this and that on the board. But the Bard, I mean, you're going to get a good amount of casts off. So, it's going to help you in that combat, and you need to maintain that life. We talk about life as a resource. When you're playing the Bard, you have to keep it because you need time. You need to buy your way into the later rounds through time and HP. There is a spat and two. Come
oh
on!
My God, this isn't fair. This isn't fair. We're seeing Rise, and I feel like we're in trouble. I feel like we called out for something that we
This
weren't
is a
ready
caster
for.
blessing.
Oh no!
The caster blessing game, and not game, but day. We've done it twice now.
These are the moments where, as a commentator, I feel excited. Right? Like I'm terrified for all this, but I am excited. There's a lot of incredible expression to see here. As a player, though, I would be feeling absolutely terrified because there are so many different things to look through here. So much flexibility that needs to be considered that can lead to a lot of folks fizzling out or spinning out as they try to hit some of these options here. I can't tell you if things are going to work out for folks, but I can say for the few that do make it to the top four, we are going to see some of the most insane boards that you have ever seen on the PBE.
I know I keep referencing back to Box, and I apologize, but he uses a term for what happens to players in these games when you have too many decisions to make at once, and it is getting dizzy. And I think it's perfect. I think it is the perfect and correct description because think about it. When you have so many options and things in your head that you are trying to think of and make decisions about and calculate and rely on, you get, yeah, dizzy, just a little bit lost. By the way, that Tristana, it, that was a crown on Tristana, I
Hey, I
believe.
mean,
Uh,
I'll take it.
so we have the other possible option of when you end up with too many spatulas and frying pans, wherein you just have more units on the board than anybody else.
And again, another thing to talk about, that means that traits that are usually gated by having more units on the board all of a sudden have another way to get through without having to spend all that gold to get from level 8 to level 9, from level 9 to level 10, right? Like, all these little things are being done with the effort to try to loosen things up and give us an even wilder game of TFT than we could have possibly imagined when we were in our break just a few minutes ago. But now, again, it's a lot to consider, a lot to work through. You did mention the Tristana, and she is effective, but I want to note how this is a reprint here, and she's able to actually knock back her targets if they get too close. That has been insane for these early fights for Uick here, as they've been able to stall out a little bit more, preserve some HP, maintain a couple of wins. I think Ku is happy with that, though, because they were able to maintain a win streak of their own.
Now
A
we
loss streak of
and
their own.
it's on the exact same vein as the dashes that we talked about, the mobility that some of these characters have, and how that forces the melee units to reposition and they lose that attack time. This is the opposite of that in that you aren't moving yourself, you are moving them, which doesn't just benefit you as the individual unit of Tristana, but it can also benefit your teammates, such as you can see, the Alawi, the Poppy, etc., by pushing their target away from them. Preferably not, but you can push you can push characters that are targeting them away instead. So very beneficial to have the
Was
possibility of
that.
that,
Wait.
but it can also turn around and be bad.
I'm sorry, I thought I saw a T-Hex at free one and I almost had a panic attack. Okay, sorry. Lots of stuff to get excited about. What we'll get excited about at the
That's
proper time, though.
I would.
Sorry.
Is that
Ooh,
even? That's not possible.
you have a
You can't
Piltover
unlock it that
emblem?
early.
Yes, you can. There's no level
Oh yeah,
requirement.
it's only
Hover over
nine.
Piltover
You're
right
right.
now.
Yeah, it's only nine
There's
star levels.
no
You're
level
correct.
requirement
Oh my
whatsoever.
god.
You just need 9 star levels. That's another reason why that Piltover emblem is so strong
Jesus.
in
Just
this
three
case.
stars, or it's a combination. Jeepers.
Particularly, everything needs to be 2-starred except for one of those non T-Hex units, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's possible you can hit it, and you can hit it
especially with
even easier
Epoch. You're
because of
right.
the emblem.
Holy cow. Anyways, here we are getting absolutely ahead of ourselves by maybe 2 or 3 rounds, if we're being honest with ourselves. Because if you count the stars on the board right now, I think there's 7 in this in hand for
Oh
these
no,
4
trait
Piltover
tree,
units.
no.
No, Cursed Crown, also incredibly useful, but very, very risky.
Okay, much safer option, tiny but deadly here. That's going to give you a lot more attack speed, a lot more bonuses here. Prismatic Ticket just shows that Uick is going all in on rerolls. We'll talk about that in just a second because we have some pretty insane Yordle stuff to see.
Destined into Ticket
I like
with
it. I like it.
Epoch. That's a reroll godsend.
Works out pretty nicely here. Let's see if the tiniest titan is the click or if it's going to be one more reroll here for Radish as well.
I think they should be taking bronze for life if you take a look at what's going on their left side right now. They are already sitting at 5. They do go for
No, they're
tiniest
going for a
titan.
cash out. Oh no. Okay, so lots of stuff happening. Going for the extra HP here, though, means that they're going to be going for a pretty high Ishtal cash out. Remember, not every Ishtal unit now requires mission now requires going for losses and spending HP. There are other ways to unlock them here, but having more HP means that you have more time to do some of the additional unlocks. That is insane. It's a lot to contend with here, and we'll have to see which direction it goes into. The thing I'm curious about, though, is what is this divide that we have between players who have gone for econ augments and players who have gone for combat augments? Because if I know anything about TFT, we're about to see a pretty wide disparity here between the folks that have gone for econ and the folks who have gone for power. And I want to spend a little bit longer talking about that bronze for life because in a lobby like this, it makes sense that we've seen so many players focus on it, try to find it, because they know with all these emblems, you're going to find all of these random splashes here or there, which are going to buff up your damage so impossibly high.
And you know what goes really, really well with all of these splashes and having all of these traits in? No, somebody took trait tree. Anyways,
I
that
see
has
it. I'm
all of
shaking
these
my head. You
traits in
can't see.
hand. Is you end up with a whole lot of location-based traits. And what does a whole lot of location-based traits lead to again?
I think
Oh yeah.
it's a hit song that Riot had a few years
You have
ago.
to prove yourself in order to get there.
Yeah, I know.
Rice.
Rice. Yeah, that's the one.
Rice.
Like that is just insane. I don't know how to like. There's another spatula here, by the way, on
Stop it.
Koi Boy's bench. Right? Like, I mean, come on, that's rude. You're being rude right now.
You're
Why?
being rude.
Oh my goodness! Like again, there are so many different ways to play about this. This definitely feels like we are rapidly approaching Rise here. We'll have to see exactly how that manifests. There are going to be
How
different
many people?
ways that you can go there, and yeah, how many people are going to even hit it in the first place? This might be the first game that we've seen where Rise is contested multiple different ways.
It may be one of the first
Wait,
games.
that's a Yunara
At
too.
all.
What the heck?
What?
What? Hold on. What's the Ionia this
Koi
game?
Boy. Koi
Uh,
Boy is level 7/7 Ionia with Path of Transcendent, where they get bonus health and deal bonus magic damage.
okay. Sorry. There's so many things going on right now that the quote unquote usual big events aren't hitting me as hard. Like, yeah, of course we have a Yunara 2 at free 5. What are you talking about? That's standard TFT right there, baby. Like, what do you mean?
Why would you
This
not
is
be level 7 at 3/5?
yeah. Heck, and also a good econ, by the way, too, might I add. The extra gold that came in here from that trait tree really is coming in clutch here to
He's
help
losing.
get you these advantages.
He's losing.
I mean, as much as I want to talk about all these benefits, I do have to talk about the disparities here too, which is you got full econ traits here at the end of the day. You don't have any kind of board power here at
So
your
does the
back,
person he
so
lost. So does the
I mean,
person he
hey,
lost to.
we're gonna talk about that in a second. You're cutting me off. Like, I'm trying to make a cool point. You'll just come in here and mess with it. But like, yes, that is another kind of factor. But also maybe Ionia isn't as strong right now. You ever think about that? Hmm?
No, I try not to think about that because Ionia should be strong. That's their
I
whole
know.
thing.
I know. Oh my goodness. By the way, Milio free, sure, why not? Already picked up by Cano. That's also gonna be joined by an Oriana. If I remember correctly, this is the Piltover. No, there's no Piltover emblem on this board. I was gonna say that would be a really easy way to try to guarantee a T-Hex as quickly as possible. But for now, look at all the power that comes in here from this Milio. It may be an Ishtal unit, and Ishtal may be under budgeted for power here because of their huge benefits, but Milio did get the Mel, kicks a Fuemigo all the way over the board just to get a clean KO.
It is insane amounts of damage coming out of that Melio right now with the crit ability and the extra damage coming out from the crits as well. Let's take a quick look from our top to bottom here. Uick hitting that 3-star rumble is going for this big Yordle gameplay. And really, aside from obviously having a bunch of units and it being Yordles and 3 stars on their way, this is probably the most normal board we're going to look at. Hop down to Fitzboy, on the other hand, and you see 5 Piltover already. Yeah, they're tiny. The gigantification rate with Tiny Titans is actually hilarious.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. Oh my
quote
goodness.
unquote, and become much larger. And they're still not even normal sized, but he is going to be very close to hitting that T-Hex without a doubt at this point in time. Soul Ninja, as we continue the downwards trend, is going to be 7 Bilgewater. Trist 3 hit in the top by the buy, but 7 Bilgewater, that is superior loot that is going to be coming in, and a whole lot of Silver Serpents in hand. Happy Coup, the one we started off watching this game, is the only person sitting with Targon still, and let's take a look at those singed items.
I don't want to. Please stop. That is
Oh, you don't like
illegal
Disruptor
items.
Singe?
You're not. I do not like Disruptor Singed.
You
I
do not
do
like
not
it,
like
Sam I
him.
Am?
Listen. Do you know how hard I spent in the last like 3 seconds trying to figure out a quick little rhyme for Singed? I'm tinged with regret that I couldn't think of really many of them at all. But here, this is absurd. This is illegal. I do not like it. Please take that thing back where it came from. This is crazy because Singed is getting a DOT on top of a DOT and also is further reducing the damage that everyone is dealing in that fight. Come on, that's not fair. Don't do that.
That's probably one of my favorite things that I have seen so far. Only a silver augment this time around. A little less exciting than what we saw off of the very start. But that, quite frankly, we have to have some little part of normality going on here. Twin Guardians, not an awful selection, I suppose. They disagree. They certainly don't want it. Oh boy. We're at 4-2. Most people are level 8. 3-star Oriana picked up, 3-star Teemo picked up. Let's hop down to Cano real quickly because they just pushed themselves to level 7 after hitting that 3-star Oriana. And again, big friend picked up here. I don't understand what I'm seeing.
Can we quickly look at the Ishtal mission actually? Because something doesn't feel right to me. Have 15 years to die. I think they had an Ishtal cash out somewhere here because that's a very low number for right now. Or they could have played it a little bit later on in. We'll note too that they were actually also going for an Oriana 3 as well, which works really nicely with that Milio, also serves as an invoker, is another lesson to sort of take away from playing all of these unlock lines. You don't need to stay in your lane. Once you've unlocked something, you can spec into something and then just step right back out once you get the unit you want, like this Milio Oriana reroll board works.
It's also a fantastic opportunity to not just benefit your board in the ways that you mentioned, but also challenge and contest the other boards that are out there. Knowing that all of these emblems exist, we have spoken about it multiple times, and if you do any kind of scouting, you'll have seen it yourself. That's a Lucian in shot, by the way. You will know that people are out there fishing for Piltover. So if you are able to take away a 3-star Piltover unit, all you're doing is thinning the pool, which makes these individuals that are also already out there contesting one another for further Piltover units have an even lower chance of hitting that T-Rex, or T-Hex, sorry, which we haven't seen, despite having, I think, 7 Piltover stars on the board as of the start of 3-2, 3-3.
We'll take a look. I think it's 9, not 7. So it is
No,
a
but
little
we
bit
had
tricky to
7
work with.
of the 9 is what I was getting at.
Oh,
Apologies.
I see. Well, another important thing to note too, and another thing that's made it harder to play Piltover is just because the splash is so powerful here. It means that a lot of folks are contesting a lot of these units, preventing you from starring them up. Like, I think most of the boards that we've seen, like we see it on Ku's board, I think we saw it on a few other as well. Like, Vi 2 has just sort of appeared here. Oh, wow, Koi Boy, that
Wow.
takes you down much lower than I thought. Gangstalicious also joining you at 7 HP and a Dream here, but plenty of time to make things right, plenty of times to figure out what's left.
Shyvana and Fiddlesticks here.
Gangsta picks up the one, we'll see who picks up the other. I gotta say, Fiddle, I'm surprised. Is this under prioritized on Carousel? Just because I feel like all legendaries this set have that wow factor about them, right? There's something that you look at and go, wow, I want to figure out how I put this into my board. Here's, by the way, that Hex mech that we were talking about here. We'll finally get to see her at the end of the day as well.
There it is.
My
I
goodness.
feel every game that we have seen so far, when we hit the 4-4, 4-5 carousel, the legendaries are not prioritized unless they have the item that is wanted. Right? We have seen them
Yeah.
pass significantly. They are the last selected unless they have a very particular item that an individual is looking for.
To be fair, I do get the theory behind it, right? You do want to make sure that you are prioritizing items on Carousel. You don't want to just grab a bunch of chain vests and all of a sudden go, hey, wait a minute, why don't I have any damage on my team? You had the choice, you just kept buying belts there, silly. All of that makes sense that you want to try to prioritize your items. Sometimes, though, you get interesting things that sort of force you to challenge those notions, forces you to challenge and go for a little bit of extra power. And I don't know if that's going to be enough, especially for Koi Boy. is looking incredibly low here. This Yunara came early, but wasn't able to really give Koi Boy the staying power they needed to stick around in this game. Gangstalicious is able to hold on a bit longer, has Warwick with perfect items, might I add. The only reason why I feel like we haven't seen Warwick too much today has been the fact that he's a little bit more dependent on, again, getting the buy 2, which has been heavily contested, but his
Mhm.
ability is also heavily tied to the existence of buy and Jinx on your board as well. So all these things stack up against him, but as a strong unit in and of himself, see if
The
it's
interesting
enough.
thing here is, despite Gangstalicious being at 7 HP and clearly focusing on Zon, there is no Singed on this board, opting for, like you said, that significantly more difficult to hit combination of the Vi, Jinx, Warwick here. So very interesting to see. Love watching Bander go off if he has the opportunity to. And yeah, the perfect items is going to certainly open him up right onto that back line. This is a phenomenal positioning for that Warwick in that initial opportunity. The question is, can the Jinx close out
Jinx?
here? And it does not happen. There was the opportunity, and the Warwick actually walked away from the back line, was not closing it out. The positioning was the difference maker there because the Melio survived, and bam, just gone.
And this is the thing that I was worried about whenever we get into these lobbies. Folks get dizzy, and all of a sudden, there's a lot you have to contend with. Take Radish here, for example. They could take that reroll the shop 16 times. I don't think they have the econ, though, to do that in one round.
Mhm.
I think that's what they picked up for, to try to see if they're able to get it in one. They have 15, soon to be 16 HP. That should be enough wiggle room for them to go for that 400 cash out instead of the 355, but this is starting to get really down to the wire as other players are starting to pull further and further away.
And these are the gambles that you end up with, right? We talk about playing certain traits or taking certain augments to get the econ and to try and push yourself into specific situations. This is the gamble around Ixtal. You have to get the right ones and you have to be able to complete them in order to get the right cash out. And you talked about it earlier on. I believe it was the last game where you mentioned sometimes it's more important to take the early cash out than to be greedy because it can put you in a situation like we're seeing right now where do you have enough HP to survive one more round and get to the next cash out, or did you just push it too far and cost yourself the entire game?
I'll say they're us at 4 Ishtal now, not 5, so that means there isn't going to be any kind of healing coming in here. Everything they hit has to be on their own merit, and Senna is doing incredible work to ensure that is what we actually get to see here. That does mean these final rolls come on through. I think Radish is able to cash out here. No, they haven't rolled enough. Oh yeah, they were just a
Devastating. Oh, they
smidge
did.
too late.
Yep. They just rolled and got 17 out of 16. That is not what you like to see. Ever so slightly too late, which means they have to win one more, or at the very least, not die one more time, and then they'll get that cash out. And then they have to be fast enough to utilize that cash out to set up a strong enough board to continue onwards. A last second move of the Skarner here. No, I don't know where I saw. Okay, there we go. Yeah, last second move of the Skarner. Apologies. I thought I had a stroke for a second there because there's no Skarner anymore. Into the center of the board to add a little more of a defensive position there. But it looks like because of the lack of healing, this backline is suffering at the hands of Singed.
There was a lot of extra HP healing, and yes, that +2 did matter because of that
Wow.
augment choice here. That does mean they'll be able to hit that 400 breakpoint. So let's see what the cash out is going to be for them. Surely
These are
they
the
cash
moment.
out here. There's no way you can
No,
go for another
you have to
quest.
take this. What are you going to take? Like, what would you take?
This is
All. Take
stalling
all.
very long for someone who's going to take
Take
it
all.
immediately.
Radish.
Listen, I appreciate the call for content. Here we go. Okay, there's the cash out. The rated item is
No.
huge here. The problem, though, is that we are going to be in a bit of a hurried situation because we need to be able to. We haven't been able to find the extra
What?
power that
He
unlocks
rerolled it
the
all.
Brock.
He
They need a
rerolled
big
all
swing
of
to be
the
fair.
items, and
I
he's
don't
not. He's
think
not putting anything on.
I don't think the swing was able to yield a powerful result. You can get Arcanist in here at the very least. That extra AP will be powerful, but I think it may be too little, too late. One by one, the units go down. Radish has to be removed from the fridge. We have to see what is left for the rest of the lobby here. I do want to take a second to make sure we can call out Ewick, as they've actually just lost their win streak here. They've been holding that pretty reliably for, I think, most of this game. They have been our Yordle player, have managed to move into 8 Yordle with the Bard, which I had previously sort of shot down a little bit. I personally feel like it's a little awkward to be able to properly re-roll Yordles with Bard, and Yordle already innately gives you all the things that Bard is going to give you. But at the same time, if you make your Bard a Yordle, well, that all kind of goes away. So that does explain why Ewick was able to be so strong for so long, but they are starting to run out of steam as some of these other boards are beginning to come online.
I do have to continue along the line of calling
Oh,
out
please.
moments in regards to the player, simply because I have to call out myself and you,
Oh.
actually, because their name is Ewick, as in Eric, but Uwu. So it is not
Oh.
Ewick, it is Ewick. They are Eric. We have just been
Oh.
trying to be
Ooh.
something that he was not, and mispronouncing his name and giving him far more respect than apparently he is deserving. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, Eric. That was a joke. You are very deserving of respect, as you are currently sitting at the top of this lobby and playing an incredible Yordle game. Yordle being one of my favorite things ever introduced into TFT, because quite frankly, I can sit and think significantly less when playing it, so I love it. It is probably my most forced board in history.
Oh, you have killed me. I am dead. Like, ugh.
I didn't kill you. Ewick did.
Oh, Eric, no. Eric, no.
Ewick and Merwich.
Oh no, Eric. I will note really quickly too. Eric has actually also picked up a Silas as well. Unlock.
Mm-hmm.
That's always a nice thing to look here off to the side. Volibear and Kaisa also come in for moral support, but that 7 cost
Wow.
is going to be the huge one at the end of the day.
Yeah, and immediately purchased and into the front line, dropping the Lulu, still sitting at the eight Yordle. You do not need all 9. That's an Arcanist Teemo, by the way, on
Yeah.
top of everything here. So dropping, splashing in as we keep talking about that Arcanist option here means that Silas is going to be even more fun.
Yeah, I gotta say, this is all going together really nicely. Lulu drop, I think, makes the most sense. It is a 1 cost, although the utility that Lulu provides is quite excellent, so it is a little bit hard to see her go. T-Hex, unfortunately, fires in the wrong direction. Sometimes that RNG is just a little bit rough to contend with here, and all of a sudden, the rest of the Yordles begin to descend. This is what we were kind of talking about here with Yordle 8 as well, right? You are eventually able to stack up so many benefits from the Yordle grab bags, from everything that comes on through, that you're eventually just able to outscale folks from the sheer number of resources that you've managed to get. Right now, that hasn't quite meant a knockout for Fitzboy, but with 14 HP entering into stage 6, things are starting to look closer and closer to that.
I think this is the furthest runaway that we have seen so far today, with Eric being at 68 HP and everybody else under 20. We've got second and third both tied at 14 HP, and Ku sitting at 5 as the last surviving member at 5-7. That's right, 5-7, chat. 5. Don't do it again. There's no meme here. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, with Eric sitting as strong as he is, it's going to be quite a turn if he's going to have something end up happening here. The T-Wex, yes, I said T-Wex on purpose.
I was gonna say, like, you were talking about Ewick too much.
I do wonder just how frustrated Fitzboy is going to be with
Well,
them firing backwards twice in that one combat, because that was definitely a at least a small tide turner.
probably not as frustrated as they'll be when they see that Ewick was just able to hit a fizz free, so that probably is going to shift the tempo of the lobby even more firmly into their corner. We'll keep. Yes.
What is this
Yeah, let's
lobby?
switch over to Eric really quickly just to see what's happening here. It's a
Arcanist
fully
Fizz.
now. Okay, let's talk about what could have happened. Maybe this fizz wasn't properly itemized in that previous fight. That's entirely possible, right? I have seen Freestar 4 cost to lose if they're just completely new, not holding items, however you want to say it. This looks a little bit more indicative of what I'd expect coming into here. Look at this Fizz jumping around all over the place, basically free tapping anyone that they even look at. It's the reason why I think I banned Fizz so much in the past. Wait a second, that Lucian Senna did way more
Ooh.
damage than we expected. Oh, wait, we're actually done.
What?
You know what? I was thinking I had a little bit more time. I didn't quite rush into my commentator voice as fast as I should have. Eric is able to win the day. 32 became 16, is now 8. We here at the Prismatic Poro Cup 2 are now going to find out how 8 becomes 1. One last time on our end, Protroid, Oshi, lots of exciting stuff that we've been able to see so far. I feel like I'm a little scared to talk right now because we've had this eerie psychic ability to sort of make things happen. And I don't
Almost.
know if I want to influence what the final lobby is going to be.
Well, then all I'll say
Okay.
is that you managed to put 90s boy band music in my head. Okay? Because you said 8 to become 1.
Mm,
Now, I am 5 years older than you.
mhm,
So it's
mhm. As
enough
we discovered
to
on
put a
yeah, yeah.
gap, right? Wherein the boy bands I know you may not have grown up with, particularly because I grew up with two sisters. So that
That's good.
influenced
Yeah.
the music I heard when I was younger,
Mhm.
understandably. So you don't even know what song I'm talking about, or you
And
can't
let me tell you, I'm
immediately.
trying to do my best to hide that fact until you called it out right there. I'm trying to agree with
Yes.
you and yes and.
Which doesn't work when the other person understands how yes ands work, right? In
Right.
this instance, it's done us great so far today because no one would guess that we've never commentated before today, together, I should say. But I'm sitting here just thinking, when two becomes one.
Oh wait, I know that.
See, but you had to hear it to get it.
To be fair, that's me with most songs anyway.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna say I'm a lyrical fiend, although sometimes the broadcast may make you feel like one at the end of the day. But here it is plenty to take in. And speaking of that too, we know there's been a delay. We thank all of you for just sticking around with us while we try to figure out what was going on. Lots of really complicated, weird stuff happening on spreadsheets, and real cheers to Rare Adam for helping us figure that out behind the scenes. With that though, like we said, it is time for that 8 to become 1. One more time for you here at the end of the day. And in order to do that, we have to see the 8 that we even have in the first place.
The one thing that I can unquestionably tell you is that soup is still on the menu. Lettuce is still here. The fridge door has not entirely closed. So the opportunity arises for us to be able to continue with our lettuce soup and nothing else, which, by the way, is a real thing. I'm not making
Yeah,
up.
I know,
I'm
I
not
know.
being silly. Lettuce soup is a real. I'm not talking to you. I know you know
Okay,
because
okay,
you
okay.
are an educated individual
Mhm.
who has culinary tastes that expand beyond
Thank you.
brown slop on a plate.
Although to be clear,
No,
brown slop, pretty good. Pretty good.
American food isn't always bad.
Yeah.
But lettuce soup is a real thing and can actually be quite delicious as long as you know what you're doing with it and you season and spice appropriately.
With any soup,
Listen,
yeah.
I'm buying time right now because we are still just waiting to get all of the final individuals who are within our top 8 actually placed and part of the lobby that is going to be ongoing. And then we have to wait and let them start just a little bit
Mhm.
because, of course, there's a spectator delay in order to ensure competitive integrity. So we are here with you, sitting here chatting and still thinking of those lyrics to that song. I can't get it out of my head. And I'm not going to sing for you any further, despite what Kate screams at me.
Hey, it works out, and let me tell you, I've heard those Kate screams before too, so we'll just keep it going and try to focus up as best as we can. And maybe you can sing a couple of bars in the chat if you would so like Kate as well. But independent of any of those singing abilities that anyone in our production team may have, now I think it is also maybe time to start gently wish casting a couple of things that we may be seeing in here. Like I said, don't want to influence things. If I was Mr. Super Crazy Evil Man, I would be saying that I want to see all prismatics or all these kind of crazy
Yes.
inflationary things when I feel like a lot of these players would just like to play a straightforward game of TFT, that true test of skill expression with no kind of crazy curveballs thrown about it.
Exactly. I tried to talk about this, but at the time I had been debated, courtesy of Kate, about the silver tier augments and how when you're playing a game of all silver tier augments, it is significantly more skill based because the prismatics throw in those rather imbalanced levels of power that come with them and the RNG that tends to back that as well. So these players, because they're at the peak of this competition, these are the top 8 of the 32 that we started off with. Where we have ended up, I'm sure they would adore to have 3 silver tier augments and have it be a beautifully skill based, minimal RNG slugfest where they all just go at it to their best efforts. But we like entertainment here. And this is for charity. So, yes, we have seen the 3-star 5 costs in game number one, the 3-star 7 cost in game number two. Game three failed to bring us the rise. So, we need to have something phenomenal, something magnificent to end the day. Now, if that does come from having the 3 silvers and a beautiful competitive nail biter, so be it. I will be on board for that. But if I could see one thing for chat, because I saw it earlier, would be Brock.
That is a really excellent point. We came very close to Brock, but a 400 cash out does not a 500 cash out make, and it is difficult to be able to truly get Brock up and rolling at the end of the day. It is a lot to deal with, but if you are able to, I do truly feel that Brock is one of the stronger 7 costs that you can find in this game. It is gated behind quite a bit of crazy stuff here, so it makes sense that there's a lot of wonk to deal with. But if you are able to hit it, you have damage, you have CC, you have all the brockiness that Brock can provide, and honestly, Brock does provide the highest concentration of Brock compared to any other unit in the game.
The Brock provides, one may say, which is a deep cut reference that I don't know how many of you will get now that I say it out loud, but I hope somebody out there understands the reference and will say something along the lines of bowling Jesus. But neither here nor there. Again, we have stumbled into a couple of technical difficulties. As you all know, Riot is a small indie dev company. So sometimes things with their launchers don't go perfectly. It doesn't matter. They are hopping into the game only about a minute away. I am excited and I really want to see a large Ixtal cash out for one. I would also love to see somebody manage to slip in a cheeky little Shurima pull.
Again, it's so tricky, and I will call out one thing about Shreema, right? There are actually augments that allow you to hit Shreema, particularly one augment that allows you to hit Shreema, where it grants you an Azir, I think it's stage 3-5, if memory serves.
Ooh.
So there are ways to sort of game the system and put yourself in a strong position to hit it. But obviously, the problem you hit with those situations is that you're still playing down a prismatic augment until you hit that Azir. And you have to try to maintain health in order to have the resources to spend later on to Lost Creek to go for Nasus, to Waffle to go for the Xerath. It's a lot of wonky stuff to deal with here, but as we alluded to earlier, when you are able to hit 4, when those are able to ascend to Godhood, that is an insane play that will win you games.
So on the note of insane plays,
Yeah, please.
let's talk about the unit we haven't seen and why, right? Because it's an unlock, it's the high cost, but is it strong enough to be deserving? We have seen 9 Yodels get played. We have seen a lot of Zon get played. We've seen a little bit of Longshot get played, but we have not seen the Ziggs actually field it. Why?
I think, as you said, it really does come down to the complexity of unlocks here, and also where some of these have been focused on at the end of the day. If you are thinking about Zon, if you're looking at how things are moving on through, you really are really just trying to focus in on being able to find the Singe, play around that, and just go crazy running around as you do. You're not really seeing as many folks try to keep pushing up to 9 to throw in that Ziggs, which I personally think is quite strong. I think that Ziggs is able to help you close out fights with huge AoE damage in ways that I feel like a lot of folks kind of eschew a little bit. Like they're not really thinking about it. Yet, as you sort of said, because of the way that the meta has sort of developed on the PBE, because of the way where unlocks have become more contested, also by the way that Longshot hasn't exactly been an incredibly powerful offensive option
No.
either. All those things kind of work together to become a little bit more awkward, a little bit more no good, let's say, for trying to make that push for a Ziggs unlock.
The one other thing that I'll call as we
Oh,
hit the
please.
40 seconds waiting to get into this, we have at no point unclogged the frog.
Oh no.
Not once has the Kench been unbenched.
I think we saw. Well, actually, I think we saw the Kench very briefly in one game. We haven't seen. I know we haven't seen Zaheen because
Yep.
again that requires the augment for hero, the hero augment for Jinjiao. So no surprises there. I don't. We've seen Diana once, but Diana hasn't really been in a
No.
star role because again she's just a little bit weaker right now. There's a couple of folks I've seen experimenting with Diana comps here and there, but the numbers I don't think are there just yet for them to truly really take off. I'm actually really quickly looking through my lore finder quickly to see if there's any other units I can think of that we haven't seen.
Have we had a Nasus on the board? I don't believe so.
No, I don't think
So
so.
there's been no dog. The cane has not been dropped. I mean, at this
Xerath
point,
too, yeah.
there is still a decent amount of units that we have not seen played, despite maybe having been unlocked, but also several that have not been unlocked at any point either. So we're kind of hit this crossroads of how are people saying that this set has been discovered and these units simply are not worth pursuing? It's a question you need to ask yourself, a question that we are asking ourselves as well as we're finally loading into the final game of the day. Our top eight, you have crispy lettuce, you have Eric, you have Chowdots, you have Cano, you have Beans, aka TK Tina, just the name inside. We refer to her as Beans. We have Fitzboy, Serdo, and Happy Koo, aka Koo. We're going to be getting into this. Not a one of these is using the same little legend or chibi as the other, so we have very easy identification with two of the cutest Poro options available.
I gotta tell you, I don't know what little legend you use, but I am a Pengu man through and through. Poro is absolutely adorable, and I want to see more Poro at the end of the day. So props to Serto, props for Fitzboy. They're really starting things off with things that I like to see. Beyond that, though, let's see what this Twisted Fate has in store for us in this final game.
I dare say it will be a grave result for somebody.
I am sorry. Now you're reminding me of references where one of the okay, a little tiny minutia thing I love about this set. This is the first time that we've seen interactions between units in a TFT set, where buying a unit, going up in combat against a unit, will trigger some bonus voice lines within the
Yes.
lore of how these two units know each other. And I think that is fantastic. I think it helps breathe more life into the game. And just generally, it has re exposed me to lines that I have completely forgotten about from when I played League of Legends. My personal favorite being when you have Graves and Gangplank on the same board, where Gangplank makes a pun and then spends, I want to say, a solid 5 seconds trying to explain his joke, and it is the funniest voice line I think that has ever been recorded in League of Legends. And I'm so happy I get to hear it again. I'm also happy to see all these pairs happening right now in Kano's shop. Look at that double Scion, double
What
Briar.
is
That is a Noxus starter kit if I've ever seen one.
seriously, and not picking them up is the okay, I was going to say leaving all of that unchecked is a gamble. They obviously are looking, they've got the Ionia set up here as well. So I can't entirely blame them because you would have to sell board and everything to be able to purchase the scions on top of it all, and you have no idea what augments, etc. you are going to be looking at. So it is a risky option in the end. Looking up to pick up the long shots, or sorry, gunslingers here instead, and oh, that is an earth immediately.
I'll say too, if they kept those scions, sword plus spat would be the quick and easy way to get the bonus. Noxus, I know if they want to stick in this Ionia line, that is a rod. So could enable you to go for a couple of crazy verticals, could enable you to go for a splash here, there, and everywhere. We also saw Trials of Twilight, which would have been the option for Zaheem, but instead, too much value, the safest option, is selected here.
Yeah, and I can't blame them for not going for Twilight in the situation that they were in because they simply did not have the starting units to support it. So it would have been an even stronger gamble than taking it in the first place. Was making our way up to Ku here. We take a look, Piltover on the board, but Infinity Protection is decent as well. It is an investment in yourself to survive in a at least moderate spot till 3-7 to be able to get that Trinity Force and move onwards from there. As we take a look at Surdu to see what they're starting off with augment wise once
Oh, yeah.
Kate gets back.
But I was going to say, Crispy Lettuce has Warpath, so that is going to be pretty insane to see. We'll check out what Surdu is in just a second. And overall, things are looking pretty solid with, oh boy, Trade Sector. That's also going to be pretty powerful. Also has already opened up the bar. This could be that Ishtal reroll that I was talking about earlier, just because it is going to enable you to have that easier time finding the double Nico, activating the Nidalee, and trying to go deeper down onto that Ishtal line.
Yeah, it's a very strong opener for that. We had talked about the Epoch being useful for this, but Trade Sector I think is probably the most beneficial one as we hop over to Eric to see what they have picked up initially. Clear Mind. I mean, you know what? If you're going to commit hard, this is one way to do it.
Hey, I mean, anything you could do to get to higher levels, activate those units, start really playing that soup of the day as we've talked about, that is all right in my book. Clear Mind is obviously a little harder to play around because obviously you want to keep pairs, you want to star up units. Hard to do that when you don't have any bench space to spare, but you will be able to push levels, give yourself a little bit of bench space off of that, or board space to make up for that at the end of the day.
Which is exactly what we see there. The fast level up to 5 enabled in order to get more units in, save that early HP because that is what will be spent as a result. As we look at Chowdots with Crown's Will here, giving the Rod extra AP and armor. I mean, we've got Demacia on the board because that's what they found, but taking a look at these items, I'm anticipating an Annie showing up sometime soon.
I mean, hey,
Actually,
I
maybe
think,
not.
well,
Singed, maybe. Looking at
look,
looking at what's on their bench.
we are starting to get a little ahead of ourselves, but honestly, that's fair, right? Like, we've been seeing all these crazy games, and now we are in the grand finals. This is going to be the best of the best. It's winner takes all, and they have granted their wish, right? They have a very level playing field where you're only going to see gold augments. There shouldn't be any kind of crazy curveballs, and from there, we can make some of these pushes. We can find some of these crazy options here at the end of the day.
We have
And
seen Clear Mind, and now we have Cluttered Mind on the opposite end. Fitzboy keeping everything instead of nothing.
the dichotomy of man. Very nice.
Truly duality in its finest. Hopping into the first carousel here, not a spatula or pan in sight.
This is so chill compared to everything else we have casted today. And it really does make me feel we can kind of sort of ease into a more podcast mindset coming through into this game.
This is where I lean back and I put one foot up on my knee and just kind of watch because this is the skill. This is where the forethought and the planning comes in, where you have to pay significant amounts of attention to what you're playing and when you're playing it in order to unlock the units that you need at the correct opportunities. Unlike what we saw in the last game, where we had the Rise coming in terms of giving everybody access to all kinds of everything. And you just had units galore coming in. We had very early pushes to level 6 in order to get all of the everything that they could fit on the board in one shot in. This is going to be significantly, like you said, calmer, but also has to be more planned. That is a 2-star Ash picked up sitting on the board for Beans here. So something to pay attention to.
By the way, Bean has also picked up one of my favorite new augments of the set, which is Blood Offering, and this is going to give you a little bit of damage at the start, but a Bloodthirster and bonus damage on top of that as well. So you don't really miss that. You're getting the shield in the first place anyway, so you're not going to really have to suffer too much. And it works so nicely with so many different units. I particularly think of the Bruiser line just because it works great with all these high health targets that are going to work back through. Volibear loves this quite a bit. It works great with Brock, who we still want to see today. Probably not on this board, unfortunately, but another great holder of this. And obviously, it goes back to that huge Slayer line that we've talked about before. Another step that takes us over to the Aatrox, should anyone so desire. So, plenty of different options, plenty of different lines happening here. Switching to Lettuce's perspective, though, we have to call out a few things. Lettuce was incredibly dominant early on in this tournament. Back to back wins. I believe after that, I think in the third game, they finished third, which is still incredibly strong. Coming into game 5, though, they did finish 5th. So that means that things might be starting to wane. There may be gas starting to leave the tank here, and I want to see if Lettuce is able to make up for that.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing to keep in mind. We are 5 hours into this at this point in time. That's, for you and I as well. The gas comes and
Oh,
goes
yeah.
as it does. But these players are definitely going to be exhausting their levels. Now, I know, and you'll confirm because you play TFT as well, that it is not unusual to do an 8 or 9 hour TFT session. Once you start rolling, it just starts going. But in
Mhm.
this case, it is different because there's stresses on top of it all. It's not we go again, we go again, we go again. You have to wait in between, and you know that you are competing against the same people over and over who are going to remember what you did last game. They're going to remember what you played last game. As the Ixtal caretaker setup here continues,
And I will tell you right now, it really is a marathon, not a sprint at the end of the day. And TFT competition yields new interesting challenges because you no longer have the luxury of stepping away, right? Like you are going to be in these games until you are fully eliminated. And so you can't just say, "Oh, that was a crappy game. I'm going to go take a break, go on like a 30-minute walk or something." If you finish 5th, you might not have enough time to head out and fully recenter your thoughts the same way you would after a rank game where if you lose twice, you might even just say I'm done for the day. No, you got to keep going. You got to keep going on this marathon, and
do we
that is always the tricky thing for players in these tournament environments to really adapt to. And some folks do that with pride, some folks begin to struggle a little bit more. It just comes down to how you are exposed to that as you go on through.
We have, and just to totally hop the horse and get into the
Oh, please,
chaos that is
please.
actually in front of us that we have not yet noticed. We have two people playing Bard Ixtal reroll, by the way, with
Okay.
totally different augments.
And I was gonna say, like, really? I don't think I've seen. And naturally, they immediately go to fight each other to help illustrate our point, which feels very excellent here at the end of the day. And I feel like we also could see a few different ways to play Ishtal in this state, where obviously the basic lines here are going to be the same. This will mean both of them will have more trouble unlocking Italy, as they both need 6 copies of Nico in order to do so. So best of luck to the two of you. But beyond that as well, we did see Cerdo, I believe, Kana immediately cash out earlier on, trying to go for these little Ishtal cash outs to really keep them going on down the line. To me, that implies they're not looking to go too deep in Ishtal at this point. But again, everything else they have, the caretaker, the rerolls, is implying there's something deeper here. But we'll have to see what the gold augments have to say.
It's always interesting to just kind of, oh no, Epic Plus showing up here. That would be a very large, I'm not going to be getting out of this. No, looks like they're going to continue probably getting the early cash outs as well, selecting another Ixtal quest for themselves here as we hop our way down to check out all the way at the bottom Mr. Koo finding himself with a big grab bag. Always a nice little boost,
Yeah,
but it doesn't have the long-term effects that some other augments can have. It's an immediate now kind of moment, and if you're not slamming the items, it's because you may be lending yourself to perfection interrupting success.
it could also be that Ku wants to try to continue a lost streak, but That
Yes.
being said, too, this becomes one of those marks of how you improve in TFT because anyone can guarantee a loss streak, right? You just play less units. However, a mark of a really strong player is recognizing just how strong their boards needs to be and no stronger. They don't want to try to play that risk. They don't want to try to end up in these situations where all of a sudden they hit a random win and while they may be preserving a tiny bit more HP, their econ is completely shot and they have to start from zero. That is always going to be a challenge. For here, though, we are going to have to see how these players are able to adapt further. And by the way, this for Fitzboy is looking pretty insane augment wise. Clear Mind, I believe that's mixed with Epoch Plus. Those
Hmm.
two things combined should give them quite a bit of leveling power here in order to make that push for those higher levels, make that push for the soup. But at the same time, too, they will have to do what they can to make sure they are not vulnerable. And hitting things like, say, for example, the Sejuani 2 are a pretty nice step in that direction.
We do have to keep in mind as we continue along the same reference from the very beginning of the day, too many cooks in the kitchen, right? And that could be one of the struggles with Cluttered Mind. It's called that for a reason. That Rek'Sai just left Ari alive. Okay, if that burn hadn't continued down, that could have been a difference maker in the fight. However, too many cooks in the kitchen isn't generally can spoil the gravy, but can spoil the soup just the same. So that Cluttered Mind could end up with too many options on which path to take, ultimately resulting in not making the decision. But the correct path to take ultimately is the one that you, people in chat, the community around us, have decided to take, as we have hit the third goal that we set out of $350 for Feeding America.
That is so incredible. My goodness. When Kate set out today, we were talking about how, these goals are always so gratifying. We're always trying to do what we can. But seeing it surpassed and surpassed and now surpassed again is incredibly amazing. You guys are such a great community. Thank you so much for all your efforts that you've done in helping Feed America. And hey, we still got more TFT to play. We still got time to go for 400 should we so desire as well. So take that as another personal challenge for me as we continue on our way out.
I'll tell you what, $350 is a lot of soup.
It is a
It's
last
good.
soup.
It's pretty good amount of soup for hungry people. Oh,
Soups,
Kate has brought up
breads.
bread, and now we're
Oh,
going to get back into talking about how amazing bread
that's
is.
that's very dangerous that our producer has done that in our ears because let me tell you, it's starting to get a little late here on the East Coast of the United States. I should be snacking more during this. I have not, so I'm definitely going to be having some good soup, some good bread as soon as we're done with this broadcast. But for now, though, we get to see how some of these players have been trying to move on through. Bean looks like they are going deeper and deeper into the Slayer path. And it works so cleanly with that blood offering augment. And now they even have the little buddies as well. That is definitely going to be pivoting more towards the Belvath, more towards the Aatrox if they are able to find it.
And it is the opportunity of staying alive to get there, right? You can see Bean still level 6 to Eric's level 7. It's the difference of, like you said, keeping that board just strong enough to save you some HP, but not so strong as to accidentally win a fight. So Bean sitting in third place HP level wise, but still on a 2 loss streak is a great place to be when they are looking to do that long-term scaling. Hopping up to Airwick, you see them on a 4 win streak. Again, what they are looking for, what they want to end up getting, because that is the econ that they need to continue going on. Vanquisher on board, by the way, something that we have seen bits and pieces. It really is one of the splashes that just kind of comes in, but not something we've spoke about.
Yeah, Vanquisher is a lot of great power here, and the way we have spoken about it has been through this Gangplank, right? Because Gangplank is able to use Vanquisher Slayer, really go down both ends of that barrel, and really make his own barrels do a ton of extra damage, as we get to see in this fight, guaranteeing that 5 streak here. That is going to be immensely powerful. I'm really curious to see which direction that's going to end up in here, though, because when you have this much free XP going on, you're not really going to be re-rolling for Vanquishers. You're going to keep looking on for the next thing and the next thing and the next. So I don't think this is going to be a GP free. There could be other strong Vanquishers waiting in the wings. I know Fiddlesticks is the cap of the trait at that gold tier 5 level, But again, only time will tell what direction they decide to go in.
Boy leaning into what we have seen a lot of in kind of that middle ground rounds with the defender front line, the Arcanists coming in, splashing Yordle and Ionia in there for the added econ and damage and, just overall stat buff support as well. The items, I feel like, are going to guide him from this point, because that board, the Cluttered Mind and the Epoch, are really going to be the difference makers in the end here. He is going to have to say, this is what I'm playing at some point in time. And the problem here is you can end up with what's called Yordle locking, right? Where you are full boarded and you just simply are not spawning more Yordles. In this instance, he's not looking to spawn more Yordles. He wants to keep that board full for the extra EXP, which is why he's all the way up at level 7 right now. In that instance, Yordles cannot be important to his final board. They are here for the splash in of buffs, not necessarily he's going for all of the 3 stars.
I think I got to call it a few things. I was going to mention that Cerdo and Cano, they're continuing to contest each other a little bit. We saw Bards, we saw, Oriana's coming on through. But switching over to Ewick, that is a rise that we saw on that board. That is, sorry, not a rise, a Azir that we see on that board. Sorry, very close. But also, this does mean that we have more chances and definitely the HP to try to go deeper into the Shurima line. First time I think we've ever seen a player of this tournament actually have the resources at their disposal to consider it. It will still be tricky. It is not a guarantee. It is very hard to properly pull off. I mean, Little Buddies makes that even more tempting. But it's going to be best friends that is picked at the end of the day.
I mean, I guess I understand it when you've got the extra units, but your Swain is not active. Yeah, that's the problem with it. It becomes so hard to position for best friends when you have the Azir out there, because those Sand Soldiers add 2 more units on the board, picking up the Fiddlesticks for now as well, opting to swap out the Yasuo for that.
Are you trying to tell me that it's possible to have too many friends?
You can't, only when you are dealing with best friends.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I understand.
Yeah, and it's not me saying that, it's Riot.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, that's completely fine. Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, I would never say such a thing.
Well, I will say, for now, though, those friendships should be enough to at least unlock the first line of Shurima, being that Renekton off of these initial wins that we've seen Ewick find. It's just going to be a question of what comes next, because a sticking point of Shurima is the fact that every Shuriman you unlock, it makes it harder to unlock subsequent Shuriman units. Instead of it now being 3 waffled wins and losses, it is now 4. Instead of being a 3-game loss streak for Nasus, it is now 4. And that's going to increase further when the next Shuriman unit is unlocked as well. So definitely a lot of things to consider here. It seems like Ewick is at least considering it, though, because we are seeing Shuriman units entering, and I think the strength of this board overall going down a little bit.
Which would be the goal.
Yeah. We'll have to see if that's going to be their final choice here. I mean, a Cinch 2 from Ku might make that a little bit of an easier one here at the end of the day.
Holy cow. And with the ideal items, I mean, this is the 3rd time, I believe, that we've seen this item set on the Singe and talked about how it is exactly what you want in the end. Take a look at the Swain in the middle as well, with the 2 hearts on hand. That is going to be a very, very well defended Swain for the time being, even though they are only a Swain 1. Certainly going to be living for quite a while. I mean, that is a strong board for Ku at this point in time, considering we saw him in near last place.
Not to even mention the EMP, by the way, on Piltover, which it seems like players around the meta, it's one of the things that Pan mentioned really quickly in our brief conversation between games 3 and 4 of, yeah, no, EMP on Piltover is incredibly broken. So all these things really are adding up to be incredibly strong. However, the lobby itself is beginning to see another breakaway effect, and particularly Fitzboy, who is now down to 18 HP, which is looking incredibly dire.
Yeah, it is a do or die, quite literally, for Fitzboy at this point in time, as we see the Arcanist defender line being what he is still deciding to play here. unfortunately, it's just not going too well for him so far. A pivot is going to have to come, or some kind of okay, there's the re-itemization, at least onto the Garen. The Lux comes in with some crit on spellcast as well, but this again is the cluttered mind epoch situation of you have to make up a decision, and it's very difficult to hold all of the units that you're going to need on the opposite side of clear mind, where you aren't going to hold any of the units that you need.
On top of this, too, to me, this looks like moves are being made in an effort to try to unlock Silas at the end of the day. However, you're still missing Lux. And the thing that always happens whenever you play for Silas is that you end up in a fun scenario where, oh no, your board is immediately weaker because you sold two different strong 2-star forecasts that synergize well with your team and do all these kinds of fun and crazy things. It seems like just in on itself, though, is
Oh,
barely going to be enough. Excuse me, Fitzboy. I was not familiar with your game, and it was, in fact, enough to try to get one last kill onto the Bard. For now, though, again, we really are just waiting on the Lux to try to see if there's anything else to really get Fitzboy back in the running.
as we now have Crispy Lettuce managing to pick up their own Singed 2. You can see the itemization being moved over as well. 2 out of the 3 ideal items, and quite frankly, you'll take the Fist if you have to over the BT. It's going to do something similar, not quite as perfect. And of course, Shelly being on board there as well. We see a good spread of bronze of bronze selection here, which again, we talked about how they are ever so slightly overtuned. They are going to be doing a good amount of work in and of themselves, as that shield on Shelly with the Warmogs pops off and is massive.
Yeah, EMP does do a little bit to try to drain some of the resistances that the Singe is going to have, but I mean, just look at the damage that kind of comes on through. That is more than enough to keep the Crispy Lettuce feeling Crispy Cerdo going down, and Fitzboy going down to
Ooh.
Cerdo's clone of Cano. Also, again, as we said, playing for that reroll Ishtal.
Heading into the PBE rounds here, let's go a quick top to bottom to just get a thorough idea of what everybody is looking at. Again, we think we're going to be seeing Shurima coming out of Ewick here. As you can see, one loss at
Uh,
least on their board. Maybe not. There's some
no, it's a
pickups.
waffle. They've see
Yeah,
look
it's
at the
got to be.
top of the thing. They've continued it. I think they just
Yep,
need a win in order to unlock. If you hover Noxus, we see how not Noxus. Excuse me.
Shurima.
Shurima. We should see how close it is. So you might have to look at a
It's not.
unit specifically.
Yeah, you'll have to go to Emperor. You'll have to pick one of the Shurima units, and there we
Yeah.
go.
Oh yeah. Look at
As we
that.
take a look, yep,
It is
okay,
one away. We'll
very
keep
close.
we'll keep considering this, right? Like, watch the space. Like, there's a lot of HP for Ewick. There's a lot of time. Other folks do not have as much time to work things out. We'll keep an eye on them. We'll keep you all posted, and we'll see what happens as we start moving around to some of the other folks here, like Bean, who is also looking pretty good here. That's that Slayer board that we were talking about that is now fully statted out with the Bell of F2. Also, it looks like it's ready and roaring to get the Aatrox next round.
And that'll be a huge, huge spike in strength for certain as we make our way down the board. Taking a look at a couple of other people, the Ishtal is ongoing here with the Emperor on board as well. Something to keep in mind that the Azir is being added to provide a little bit more of that front line. Certainly not going to be looking to that for damage, it is unitemized, and they are purely focusing on the bar to continue that out, but the Singed is going to be a little bit too much in the hands of Ku here, as you see the Soulbound also being played. That is your Senna coupled with Lucian. Hopping to Crispy Lettuce finds themselves down at 11 HP as Fitzboy is the first eliminated. They will come 8th place on the day. Good for you for making it to the top 8 in the first place, but Crispy Lettuce looking to maintain their position within the refrigerator with the Targon Zon setup. I do not like the glove on Mal's.
I'm not a fan either. I would
Okay,
say that
neither are
that's
they.
what that's what the remover is for, right? Like, you're given a few extra movers, you're able to make things work. In addition, if we're on Streamer Watch, I need to report Ewick was able to win, so now we have another Shuriman unlocked. Everything we see from them now should be Lost Street if they want to be able to fully come online and fully activate that proper Shuriman power. Again, plenty of time to do that, plenty of resources to do that. We'll just have to kind of keep an eye out to see if that remains in the cards or not.
And considering that Crispy Lettuce just spent all of their gold leveling themselves up and rolling to get to where they are, they should be the perfect person to be fighting against to get the first of the impending loss streak that Eric is going to be looking for. It won't be easy when you consider how strong of a board Eric is fielding in the first place. Look at that Swain. But that is all part of it, is slowly mitigating the damage while still losing. And Swain is a great unit for that.
Let's talk about that a little bit more. That was a 13 HP loss that Ewick just hit right there. You need 5 losses in a row in order to do anything crazy and unlock the Nasus. And back of the napkin math, that is going to be around 65 HP. You already lost the first one, so we can take another we could take another little bit of HP there. Ewick has the runway. They can make this happen, but any kind of win rips that reality away. Further, any kind of hard loss also rips the reality away, because they only have stage 5 with those numbers. Once it gets a little bit too hard, it's going to be impossible. Beyond that, though, Chowdot's doing what they can to try to stick in. We do have a really clear line from the Lux that is able to find it, and is even able to get the KO right there onto Crispy Lettuce. Those are always those crazy lines right there that you don't expect, and honestly, we talked about Singed weakness to CC before.
And I have to say, Soup is off the menu. We are out 86. The Soup. Lettuce is gone. He has browned out, turned, no longer chilled. The crisp is gone. And it is looking all barren from here as we see Kano picking up the Giant's Slayer using, you had asked me earlier which little legend I use. Baron tends to be the one because the Wiggle Dance is unmatchable.
That is on me. I should have guessed that. All that works out pretty cleanly here. Let's keep on keeping on here. Cerdo, again, looking for a few more caps of their own. Still haven't quite cashed out that 220 there, but they got a little bit more time. Ewick again with another loss. Still looking to see if they're able to maintain the streak, as Ku is now maintaining a win streak of their own. And this shouldn't be any kind of surprise, right? We know that Singed is powerful. Yes, we did see Crispy Lettuce go out despite having one, but again, it's all in the different ways that you're able to build up your board.
And this is, again, to harken back when you take a look at the HPs of everybody here and the boards that they were all running. This is why we said all the silvers, in this case the gold augment, makes it more competitive. Everybody is relatively close to one another HP-wise. You can see 41, 41, 35. The top 3 are only a couple points away from one another as this Singed continues to do work. Cerdo, unfortunately, going down this time to Ku, but we kind of would have anticipated that because Ku is on quite a win streak, as well as Kano, finding themselves on the wrong end of the combat. Beans, Ewick, Ku, all doing incredibly well so far. Kano has to make a big change here with only 34 in the bank, 13 free rerolls though. You have to imagine that while they are obviously waiting for something, now should be the time that they are looking to do it.
I think the rerolls may have been the cash out, and there isn't really a lot to reroll for right now, so that is maybe a little bit of a sour spot for Kano. But the other thing I have to call out is that Shurima Watch is dead. Ewick actually won that last fight, so we are no longer any Nasus in the cards right now.
No sandstorms on board today. As you say, Weather Watch says skies are clear for Ku to continue onwards with the win streak they have, and Beans is looking to pick more and more up with this Slayer. The Aatrox is a 2-star at this point and is devastating to deal with. Incredible items on them as well. Kano on the receiving end of that big blast from the dragon, going down in 3rd place. We have our top 3, ladies and gentlemen, as well as the rest of you who are watching at this moment. Again, I'd like to remind you that we are here raising money for Feeding America. If you do happen to have any spare change in your wallets at this time, it would be phenomenal of you to donate. We have already hit our 3rd goal that we set of $350, which is significantly higher. I would say it is 75% higher than the original goal that was set out. Absolutely incredible of you all for being able to contribute what you have done. But to draw attention back to the game at hand, that Trinity Force is in play for KOO, and I believe that was the main switching point where we saw their win streak begin.
Yeah, and I gotta say, just having some of these augments that harken back to remove features of TFT have also been quite nice. That shield really gives me a lot of Locket vibes that
Six.
work out pretty cleanly here. And hey, what do you know? You're right, there is the Ziggs, but it doesn't seem like that's gonna be the choice today.
And you know what? That's okay. It doesn't fit
Yeah.
their board. We understand, but at least we got to see that they were unlocked at some point. So good for them.
Yeah, I agree. And on top of that, too, this is looking like an incredibly nice board right now. All things working in tandem very beautifully. You also have Piltover with the EMP. So, again, KOO certainly has plenty of reasons to be happy right now, as we've talked about it. Ewic is now doing what they can to try to drag their way out of this for now. It is going to be a pretty strong board. They had their previous out ripped away from them. I don't quite know if they see another one on the horizon beyond maybe a couple of random charms.
How about just being better?
I didn't consider that. But now when you say it out loud, it makes a lot of
Here's
sense.
the thing to remember about Shurima. Yes, it is difficult to continue to unlock all of the different legends for it, but the ones that you do unlock are strong in their own right. Azir is a good unit and provides a significant amount of defensive stats just through having the Sand Soldiers in front. It is a lot of HP that you have to chew through on its own. Add the Xerath to the backline, when itemized properly, which they appear to be at this point in time, that's a good amount of damage on top of it. At that point, you can act as though you are splashing them into a strong build in and of itself. But in this case, you simply have the Renekton going in as well. You have a very strong defensive Swain, and then you're throwing in the Lucian Senna on the backline for even more damage. The Slayers, despite how strong they are and how good their sustain is, come on, don't win Slayers. Okay, the sustain is they simply can't stand the test of time.
If I could say really quickly, I fully believed Aatrox was about to make you eat your words. Because every time I have watched Aatrox on PBE, that is exactly what has happened. Surely there is no way this unit can survive, and yet it does. And yet it continues. Yet it persists. It is such a frustrating thing to deal with. But you are correct, and on top of that too, there are a lot of room for advancement on Ewic's board as well. That's still a Xerath 1. I think it's also still an Azir 1 as well. Only the Renekton is 2-starred here, and the rest is sort of just paired up on the bench. So Ewic has a couple of outs, has a few additional points that they're capable of considering, and appears to have to deal with 2 Ohgawdevents. Not quite sure how that happened here on this Ghost board.
Yeah, they're
PBE,
here.
hot code.
They're doing what they're doing, and I'll tell you, it's doing a lot because this is the biggest threat that Eric has faced in the last 3 rounds, especially when you have those Mel Orbs on the back. He's very lucky that that was only a Ghost board. Finds himself in the top 2. We have KOO versus Ewic as the top.
2, yeah. All that works out pretty excitingly for both these players. Ewic, though, it is do or die time. They need to be able to find those last pairs that have been torn away from them by the shop if they want to have any remaining chance to be able to survive the onslaught that KOO has been able to find. There's the first one in the form of the Xerath. I think that's probably the more exciting one to find because of the unlock conditions making it just generally patently stronger. Furthermore, items are also being shifted onto Renekton that are a little bit more powerful, a little bit more in tune with what he is looking for in the form of that giant Slayer. So, all in all, we'll have to see if this is enough. Xerath 2 even forgoing some extra attack speed to be fully locked in to try to find a bit of extra defense here.
Going to be very interesting to see how this ends up playing out without the Atacons on the side to help. It looks like they're not going to be needed as Ku's board
Ooh.
just seems so strong, but the Xerath ult does a phenomenal amount of damage. That Singed is still alive, by the way, just eked out at the very end. I think what it really comes down to is, no, Ambessa is not able to kill the Xerath. That win does go over to Eric, and we find ourselves going into what is, without a doubt, the last fight.
And also, another important thing we have to call out that we haven't yet, part of Xerath's ability is Charms. Misfits and Magic is back here in Lore and Legends, and the one that was just picked up means that those blasts are going to be even stronger than for Xerath this time around. 4 additional ones coming out through cast when we saw how earlier on, a few units, such as that Singe, were kept alive just by the skin of their teeth in some of those early engagements. We'll have to see how it goes. The Ambessa is still in the right line to be able to move back and hit the Xerath early. It's going to be a question of how much mana can be gained and how quickly.
The big thing here with the Ambessa, can they chew through the Swain fast enough, and then can they deal with the soldiers fast enough? That is an insane arcane barrage. That was not something that this board was ready for. Eric sitting on his heels, waiting one more cast will be able to end this. A massive stun comes through. Xerath is able to close it out for Eric. Xerath and Eric are your winners.